Welcome, one and all, the Sunday Show After Dark. It's the Sunday show that happens after dark. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined today by the intelligent and handsome Justin from Deconstruction Zone. How you doing today, my friend?
I couldn't be better, Forrest, and I'm sure you've never had a bad day, so I think between the two of us, we're going to have a hell of a night.
I think so, too. Today is November 2nd in the year of our Dark Lord 2025. And the show is open, which means the call lines are open, which means you can call in with your challenges and questions. The number on the bottom of the screen there, 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description if you don't want to use them phone lines. Talk to us about your gods. Talk to us about your questions about science. Talk to us with your hang-ups and objections and challenges and argumentations for the existence of the supernatural. This is the show for you. Justin has an amazingly strong background in theology and the Bible. I'm a biologist and generally just dumb. And we have a show here for you to call in and tell us that your God is real. Tell us that the Bible is actually the good book. Tell us that evolution doesn't make any sense. Argue with us about sex and gender. Argue with us about the age of the earth. Argue with us about the Big Bang. Argue with us about the God of the Bible and why that God is both all-knowing and all-powerful and all-loving all at the same time. Talk to us about the commandments in the Bible and why they are good commandments and why the Bible is indeed the good book and teaches good moral lessons. Talk to us about how there is a good reason to believe that the universe was whipped up ex nihilo by an extra-dimensional being that wanted to have a very special relationship with one species of great ape. Tell us these things and have good conversations. This is the chance for you to get on the internet and share your ideas, your opinions, your beliefs, your arguments, and have serious discussions with those who disagree with you, hopefully in a productive way.
But if it does entail ancient aliens, we might mock you. Just slightly, though.
We'll try to be nice. Do you have anything for, like, what's going on with you before we jump right in? Like, do you have anything you want to promote, talk about, discuss, throw out there?
Well, there's nothing new, which is fantastic, because sometimes no news is good news, except I've got two new family members. One of them's with me here. We got two cute little 3-month-old kittens that have been joining me on stream this week. And so they're going to say hi eventually, I'm sure. And they're completely godless to the core, so you can welcome Faraday and Volta to the family.
Bring in these atheist cats. Fuck yeah.
Actually, there was a TikToker named Atheist Cats for a long time that was debating.
Really? That's great. Yeah. I did that as a bit. I had this fucking kitten that we had for a brief moment, and I brought it out on stream, and I put that clip on everything, and that was the tagline, was the cat is also an atheist. And that got more engagement than anything. People arguing about the cat.
I know one thing. This cat doesn't know anything about no gods.
That's true. We've got lines open right now for theists, for creationists, for Bible believers, for anti-science, for whatever it may be, or also, because we can get political on the show, MAGA. If you're a Trump supporter, pick up the phone. If you want to argue about whether or not what's happening in Palestine is a genocide, because it's the only fucking ongoing genocide currently that I constantly get arguments isn't real. We're good on Sudan, right? Everybody knows that's what's going on. But Gaza, for some reason, we can't get, it was bizarre.
Well, if you want to tell me, if it's from God, that's the
exactly thing. That's what it is. I recently put out a reel on Instagram just saying, fucking Trump's a pedophile, free Palestine, trans rights are human rights, fuck ICE. I think those are the only four things. And boy, I pissed off a lot of cultists. So like, I would love for them to call in and talk to me a little bit. We'll have some good, honest, again, lighthearted discussions over those things. It'll be a great show. As for right now, however, we already have oh nope, never mind. We lost the person that was waiting. We already had somebody waiting, and now we've got one other person in the screen
like
room.
A lawn chair.
Right? The question was, there was a question for both of us. Maybe we can just answer this very quickly.
Yeah.
The question for me was, is there a scientific consensus on what causes someone to be trans? No, I don't think there is. There is strong evidence of like a genetic component for like homosexuality, for example, but gender incongruence and things like that, I don't think that there is anything like that. And I think people are kind of leery about it anyway, because we don't want to pathologize it. And then the question for you that they had in there was, what does the Bible actually say about LGBTQ people?
Well, not a whole lot of things that are good. I mean, you can go from like the Old Testament, Leviticus 18, Leviticus 20, both seem to be affirming the idea that same-sex relationship, at least between men, is prohibited. There's also like you're not supposed to wear the clothing of the opposite gender. That's in the Levitical law code. And you'll find another repetition of this kind of in the New Testament, where it talks about not wearing or appearing effeminate. Like a man shouldn't appear effeminate.
When they're lying, like it's something about like, does not nature itself tell you that long hair on a man is a shame upon him? Something like that.
There's two verses that kind of touch on that. And then of course everyone knows famous Romans chapter 1, where it talks about the men giving up their natural relationship with women for other men, and even women doing the same. And so I know there's a big movement for theologians to try to soften the biblical language around homosexuality. The reality is the Bible is just not that progressive. It isn't. And it's one more good reason why we should take it out back and burn it, because society has moved on. We're better than the Bronze Age. We don't need this book. It wasn't even good for the Bronze Age.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I get that. And I think that person may be trying to come back in and through the calling queue, but those are the answers. Mm-hmm. So like, I hope that helps. I think they were having a mic issue or something like that. So in the meantime, let's talk to someone else. Let's talk to Easy. Is it Ez maybe? Or I'm not sure if this is a initial type situation. I don't know. Calling him from Colorado, who wants to talk about the mechanism of the fall. What does that mean? Easy and or Ez, you're on the line. How you doing?
Doing great, guys.
What's in your mind, buddy?
Right on. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was a Christian for 55 sorry years. And I finally came to the conclusion that there was no God there after a long life of suffering and pain and everything. But as a Christian, I never really figured out when somebody says it's because of the fall. What does that mean? Does that mean spiritual? Does that mean physical? Because when they fell, the whole earth fell, all the animals fell. What does it actually mean, the fall?
Okay, so they're referring to Genesis chapter 3. That's a shorthand for the fall from grace, or the fall from their station. So, like, the general idea is that because mankind sinned, God had to implement certain repercussions. The problem with that is that's not the case. God could do anything he wanted to. He's all powerful. He didn't have to do anything. So God very well could have just said, listen, you've sinned, and the consequence for your sin is you get tickled by a feather. He didn't do that. He said, because of that, we're going to give you baby bone cancer, and you're also going to have hurricanes and earthquakes and tornadoes and Flesh-Nyam syndrome, and there are these little parasites that will crawl up your pee-pee if you're in the wrong river, and all kinds of horrible stuff. And none of that was necessary, nor was it an inevitable consequence. These were just decisions that God made.
Okay, I could understand that. But however, can Satan create problems with our DNA? Because if he can create problems with our DNA, what eliminates him from creating problems with the whole world's DNA?
Okay, so the answer to your question is probably. 2 Corinthians 4:4, it said that the God of this world, in reference to Satan, meaning like Satan's kind of in charge down here. This seems to be clear in the Gospels as well. When Satan offers Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, like how does he even have that power? Obviously, it must have been given to him. And so for some reason, God granted his greatest enemy like all the power that he could have, minus just not being God, which is asinine, because in 2 Peter and also in the book of Jude, we learn that the angels who fell from grace in Genesis chapter 6 are locked up in chains in darkness awaiting for judgment. Why the most evil one of them didn't get locked up, we're not told. Now, the reality is in the New Testament, the idea of what Satan is and what he can do is different than the Hebrew Bible. In the Hebrew Bible, he's like a God's henchman. He's like the intermediate, so like the blood's not on God's hands. But in the New Testament, they've already co-opted this idea to like, oh, no, he's more than just God's henchman. This is somebody who is like God's enemy. And they use this enemy to explain all the horrible shit in the world, which it would be necessary by the Roman period because all of God's promises have failed. Well, how come God's promises all failed? Oh, because he's got this powerful adversary and he's doing all this other stuff, right? So that you have to make up new excuses when all the prophecies continue to fail and over again.
Yeah, I understand that. But when somebody says that they can make a change to something and they have the ability to do it, let's say it's physical. Mm-hmm. And was that when the fall happened, did God say, look, I'm going to allow Satan to destroy everything the way he wants until it's time for me to come back and save humanity? How did the mechanism actually happen when they say the fall?
Well, there's no mechanism. The fall was God's dealing with the situation. Like, so it was God's reaction. That's because remember, God removed them from the garden, Genesis 3:22. It says, man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, lest he reach out from the tree of life and take it and eat and live forever. So they had to remove Adam and Eve from the garden so they wouldn't live forever. These are all decisions that God made because when Adam and Eve knew right from wrong, it was apparent that he wasn't going to hoodwink them and he had to move them out of his presence.
Okay. So when the Christians, as I was one, what I call now the booger heads, was when I was a Christian and people would say, well, we are sinful because of the fall. Okay, the fall, but what is, I'm not sure if I understand all of the different problems that Satan causes, but how does he cause them? Can he change?
I mean, Satan basically has all the powers that he wants. Yeah, remember, even the angels had power to create DNA. Remember, they created baby batter and knocked up human women. So if mere angels can just convert themselves into human flesh and then go knock up a bunch of women, I don't see why Satan wouldn't be able to do the same thing. He's just one of the angels. And we see him among the angels in Job chapter 1, verse 6.
Okay, so the fall was there to kill. It affected everything: physical, spiritual, cosmetic, in the sense of the universe. People always say, well, they were perfect before, and then they sinned, they ate from the fruit. Can you cause something perfect without the designer flying it? So God did do the flying, in other words. So we don't have an actual exact definition of what the fall is to say, okay, the man fell down, he was standing up, and then he fell. Okay, That's what happened. But it doesn't seem to me that there's a way of describing what the real fall was, what it all was about.
I guess I don't understand your question anymore. The fall was their removal from God's presence.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll accept that. No problem. I studied the Bible for 55 years, Bible school, college. I even started writing a book on Jehovah's Witnesses on how to defraud their philosophies and everything. 743 pages worth, and I completely destroyed that once I became an atheist. But I love what you guys are doing. You have the most incredible knowledge of the Bible. When someone says a verse, you come to it right away. And Forrest, you are incredible at describing what the true reason that what evolution is called, the survival of the fittest. You two are crazily incredible when you're together, and I love your shows.
That's really kind of you to say. Thank you so much. I hope this was a helpful call for you.
Yes, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Have a good night.
Little pirate bird situation going on. Love that.
This is the perch for both kittens. This is their favorite spot.
It was ridiculously cute. I think it's interesting that he was talking about DNA and all that stuff, because like if I like with Answers in Genesis and Matt Powell and all these people, like change to DNA is like such an easy thing that any supernatural creature can do. Their big thing is that like sin corrupts DNA. That's the big claim to fame, is that as we sin, that causes mutations. Mutations are always harmful, and that leads people to devolve in these ways, and that causes cancer and disease and all this other stuff. That's like the major argument. And so like it's not just God tinkering on your DNA, and it's not just the devil tinkering on DNA. Every time you touch yourself, your DNA gets worse. It's like it's this crazy fucking idea that like it all comes back to just DNA. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Well, that argument for original sin it starts in Romans chapter 5, and it gets a little bit more fleshed out in Hebrews chapter 7. And the general idea was when they sinned, all of their flesh became corrupted. And because of all the seeds of humanity were in Adam, that means all humans are now corrupted, because they believed that humans were just little seeds that you had to plant inside of the uterus of the woman. Which is crazy, because the Egyptians already knew better. They already knew that wasn't the case, but these backwoods goat herders didn't know any better. And so they had this idea that like, oh yeah, well, all the seeds of humanity were once inside of Adam. So obviously when he was corrupted, all humanity became corrupted. We couldn't do anything about it. What, golly gee.
Right. It's crazy. And that like what's nutty is that idea even permeated into like, I think it was the 1800s, I want to say, where when we were early ideas of like how human development worked. There was a time when Western scientists believed that every single sperm contained a fully formed human being that was just very, very small.
Yes.
And like you said, it had to implant, and then it started stretching and growing like one of those little buddies you put in a thing of water, and it grows over the course of a week. And it's just like that. And it wasn't until much later that we got to the idea of like cell division and like starting to grow and things. And it was a weird time. It was a weird time for science. Somewhere between the Bronze Age and now, we started figuring some things out.
I mean,
bizarre.
Some of the brightest minds believed in crazy stuff, like alchemy. Like they really believed in alchemy, and some of them witchcraft. I mean, it just, what are you gonna do?
Yep. We've got the person that we talked about earlier that we dropped the call and then they called back in and everything. We're going to take this really quick. Sarah, pronouns she and they, calling in from crazy Appalachians. Aren't they all? Who wanted to ask us 4 questions. Yeah. Sarah, did you hear us earlier on? We both gave little answers to your questions. Were they good enough?
Hi. Unfortunately, no, because I was having some issues calling through, and so I wasn't able to quite hear what you both said. But that's okay.
That's okay. Long story short, there is, as far as I know, there isn't a consensus on what causes someone to be trans. When we talk about sex, gender, and sexuality, like there's a lot of stuff there because they're all very different and very diverse things. As far as I understand it right now, we know for sure what happens to trans people, and we know a lot about like how being trans works, and we're learning more and more about like what brains work like and minds work like and all these different things. But in the same way that like we have some indication of like a genetic component for sexuality, but not 100% there, and there's clearly some cultural influence, and also the labeling system is kind of fucked up as well. With gender being a social construct, we don't, as far as I know, we don't know what causes gender incongruence at the root. And even if we were to try to get there, with this being a social construct in the first place, the labels would be the biggest problem. It would be difficult to label things properly, even if we could learn about the science behind them in this way. So, yeah, as far as I know, we don't really have anything to go off of at this moment.
Okay. Would it be okay if I expand on my question a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. And I want to preface, I'm asking this genuinely as a trans person, not because I want to understand like how it's working so that we find a cure. That's not the angle of this. The reason I'm asking is when I came out 8 years ago, these were questions, the question I have for you and the question I have for Justin, more on the biblical side of things. These are questions I struggled with as I was coming out. And the more that I delve into science and atheistic thought and things like that versus the theist upbringing that I had, these are things that are just kind of lingering, right? So about back in the 90s, I think there was a university talk that I had seen, and they were talking about the MRI scans that they were doing on brain structures and things like that, which kind of, sparked this question that I had. And I was just wondering if you could kind of talk a little bit more about it. They were talking about how certain brain structures in trans people were reminiscent to their cis counterpart. And is that kind of still what the thought process is? Because the brain, being the largest sex organ, differentiates later in the development of a fetus. And so even though the fetus differentiates early as either male or female, the brain may differentiate male or female differently. Am I understanding that close to correct?
So there's a couple of things here. There are some brain regions, yes, that are like moderately sexually dimorphic. And when we talk about that, like when we talk about sexual dimorphism in the brain, if we're talking about like rats and songbirds and shit, it's something you can see with a naked eye. Like it's huge. When we're talking about in humans, we're talking about tiny clusters of neurons the size of a grain of rice. Like we're talking about minute differences. And then we also, but there are places. There is one place that's literally called the sexually dimorphic nucleus of I believe the preoptic area, right? And it is because it is just a major difference. The bed nucleus of the stria terminalis is another one that we talk about all the time. And yes, it has been shown in many studies that these areas of the brain align more closely with someone's gender identity than their sex assigned at birth. The key here is, though, that while there are lots and lots of sexually dimorphic parts of the brain, when we look at like big studies that like bring together all this other stuff, like these big studies that like go out and do a mass analysis, a synthesis, bring together all these different types of papers, and then look at what all of them say all at the same time. We find that these differences are neither internally consistent, nor are they really universal, nor do they like reliably point in one way or the other all the time. And at the end of the day, the brain is more of a mosaic than a male or female thing.
Okay.
One of my favorite papers explains that saying male or female brain is about as useful as saying male or female lungs or male or female liver. It's just what are you really saying? You know what I mean? Because there just isn't any strict internal consistency. It's like when transphobes bring up skeletons and they're like, well, your skeleton is blah, 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 blah. Well, there are a few sexually dimorphic parts of your skeleton. The angle of your pelvis is a big one. The nuchal crest, the shape of your, or the width of your mandible, the supraorbital arch or superciliary arch up here. Like, there's a few things. But very, very rarely are you going to find a skeleton where all of those things are pointing in one direction. And usually you're going to have probably male, maybe male, maybe female, probably female. Very rarely you're going to have, yes, this is absolutely a male skeleton. You know what I mean? And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about brains and stuff. What's more interesting when you talk about brains is activation patterns, how those brains are working. So, for example, you put a trans person in a brain scanner, you put a cis person in a brain scanner, you're looking at their brain activity while you ask them questions and talk to them and like see what their brain is doing. There was this one really cool study where they put people in this brain scanner and they showed them images, computer generated images of their body becoming more male or more female looking. So they either got like big and curvy or they became more angular, whatever it may be. And the trans people's brains activated in the exact same way when they watched their body moving away from their sex assigned at birth, as cisgender people when they watch their brains moving or watch their body moving towards their sex assigned at birth. So when a cisgender man watched their body becoming more excessively male, their brain lit up in the same way as a transgender man watching their body become more excessively female. And also we see phantom pain, which is another really cool one. That's another neurological thing, or I guess neuropsychological, whatever, where like an amputee loses an arm and can still feel that arm, even though it's not there. A trans person still feels genitalia, breasts, hips, whatever that they've never had, but they feel these things because their brain is convinced that they're supposed to be there. And so there's a lot of really cool things when we talk about how our brains actually work, because as it's not reasonable to say you have a man brain or you have a woman brain. It is reasonable to say you have lived a man's life or a woman's life, had man or woman thought patterns, had man or woman emotions and experiences that are reflexive with the world you live around you. As we live gendered lives, you get gendered brains. Neuroplasticity causes your brain to structure itself around the gendered life that you have lived. That's the best way that I can describe it, as not a neuroscientist, but someone who has definitely like done their homework on it and has had actual neuroscientists double check.
Okay. I had heard, or maybe it was through the line, I had been aware of the phantom pain topic before, although that's not my experience. Mine is more the opposite. It's sort of the longing for those traits from, my preferred gendered, counterparts, whatever. But yeah, I had no idea that was something that was sort of largely experienced. Thank you so much for your insight. So you would say that it's a scientific peculiarity more so than a significant component that like brain structures can be reminiscent to their cis counterparts. It's just not significant enough.
I don't think it's non-significant. I think that it's part of the whole story. You know what I mean? It's part of it. It's definitely evidence insofar as like to say, oh, this is just clearly like a mental issue. Like that, I think is evidence that that's not the case. It's just not the entire story. It's just a part of the story. I am putting in the chat, here is a link to that article or that study examining the prevalence of trans phantoms amongst transgender, non-binary, and gender diverse individuals. This is an exploratory study by Langer et al., published in the International Journal of Transgender Health back in 2023. I'm also pulling up some stuff about like why the male and female brain thing isn't as serious as people think.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll absolutely take a look at that.
The human brain is best described as being a male-female continuum, evidence from a neuroimaging connectivity study Cerebral Cortex, published in 2021 by Zhang et al. I'm putting that one in there right now. I've got all these in PDF form, so I'm finding the PDFs, and then I am finding them on Google Scholar, and then I am putting that into the chat.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Forrest.
There's that one. And then if you want to ask the thing you wanted for Justin while I continue looking these up.
Sure, absolutely. Justin, how are you doing?
You know what? I couldn't be better. How are you?
I'm doing good. I have to say, you both are fantastic. I've been, for the past few months, I've been absolutely enjoying listening into the line. So I had wanted to call in, but I know that you, as a organization, prefer to speak to theists. And so I've been picking my opportunity to call specifically for when the two of you are here, because although you may not both have like the specific expertise, I think you're both the most well suited to speak to for my questions. So, okay. So going back to when I came out 8 years ago, my father is a pastor. So as you can probably imagine, it was incredibly difficult for me to have the self-realization that I was trans and to anticipate that coming out to my father was going to be extremely difficult. So I spent days, weeks, whatever, doing my own study as best I could in order to try to figure out, what does the Bible actually say about LGBTQ people? I know that it's not going to have the same language or things like that, because I wanted to be able to go to my father and say, look, I'm still valid. God still loves me. I'm not doing this, to spite God or spite you and your beliefs or anything like that. I'm just wondering what you might have information about, what does the Bible actually say about us?
So it doesn't say as much as people want, but it probably says more than people realize if you read between the lines. Famously, Leviticus 18, Leviticus 20, both chapters condemn male on male intercourse. Now, there certainly is a case to be made that back at that time, they're a lot less concerned with males having a relationship, a lot more concerned with people degrading their social status by being penetrated. And once you're penetrated, you lost your status as a male essentially in society, and you're now a woman. And that was a kind of huge disgrace. That being said, if that is from God, I mean, it would still apply today. Like that, just if it's from God, it's not going to change. It's not like, so I understand, like, if you're trying to soften the language of the Bible, you would say, well, that was like a social context that we don't have anymore. But the reality is, when God dictates your social context, you don't get to make it go away just because you're not in the Bronze Age anymore. So I don't know if that's a great place to start. The book of Genesis and Judges both paint wicked societies as trying to transgress male-on-male intercourse. So in Genesis 19, obviously they tried to have their way with the two angels referred to as men. In Judges 19, they try to do the same to the Levite, and then they end up raping the concubine all night. But again, both of those evil, wicked societies, both the Sodomites and the Gibeonites, they're painted as like one of the ways in which they were so wicked is because, look, they're abandoning their natural station sexually. And then we get other passages like in Deuteronomy. I believe Deuteronomy 22, there's a prohibition against wearing clothing that is not from your own gender. So you're like, a man has to wear male clothing, a woman has to wear women's clothing. We get kind of the same in 1 Corinthians 6:9. There's another command that seems to be touching on the idea of men not wearing effeminate clothing. We might even refer to that as cross-dressing. There's some translational issues with that. It's not a slam dunk. It could read a couple different ways. But then we do also, in the same verse, we have the phrase arsenokoitai, which means like male bedder, which is prohibited, like a man who beds another man. And so that seems to be a problem. And of course, a lot of people will say, well, this might just be referring to like pederasty. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's referring to pederasty. Not that it couldn't. Some would say, well, this is male prostitution. I don't see a case for that within the text grammatically. maybe socially, but I don't think so. So the reality is, and then Romans chapter 1, we've got a prohibition. Paul chastises the wicked pagans for abandoning their natural relations, men with women and women with men, by having men on men. And then he goes even far to say, and even women with women, as though that's like a step too far. So I just don't think that the Bible overall has anything positive to say about it. And I understand if you're a Christian, why you would want to go about and soften all the biblical languages and really kind of twist yourself into a pretzel to say, well, it's not really about homosexuality. And you can do that if you're a Christian, but if you're a non-Christian, I would just be honest with the text and say that this was written by a bunch of prudes in the Bronze Age that thought it was okay to sleep with 12-year-olds and prostitutes, but somehow putting your pee-pee in another guy was bridged too far. You should take that book out back and burn it.
Okay. Yeah, no, thankfully I'm definitely deconstructing. I have been for 10 plus years or so now. It's more to have conversations with Christians, right? My father being a devout Christian. So, and I had also, in my own research and whatever, had seen some people talking about the clobber verses, right, is what they call them. And specifically, the one with Sodom, they were talking about how rather than it being viewed in the light of opposing homosexuality, being more that in that day and age, there was this view that
Like hospitality,
being a good, hospitality was one of the highest virtues in their society. If people were coming to your home, they were under your protection, your care, and of course the city, coming out and saying, give us these visitors of yours, was more to do with how they wanted to assault the guest rather than the actual act of coitus with them, right? It was more about the way that they were disrespecting these visitors. So it's really interesting when I listen to people who actually break down the Hebrew and the Greek rather than
I'm
the
familiar
English
with the argument
version
if you want
of the Bible.
to. I'm familiar with the argument if you want to know why it fails. I think there's two reasons why
I
it
would
fails.
love to hear it. Yes.
If you're a Christian. So it fails for the first part because Ezekiel is just giving you his read of the Torah. And he gets kind of the Torah wrong at a few places. There's one spot in the book of Exodus where it talks about offering up your firstborn, the first thing that opens the womb. And Ezekiel interprets this as actual child sacrifice. He said that God gave you commands that you could not you could not follow. They were bad commands meant to abhor you and to defile you through your very gifts of offering up your firstborn by passing them through the fire. So Ezekiel is giving his take on the Torah, and I don't even think it's a good one. That being said, like, I do agree that hospitality was one of the many problems in Sodom and Gomorrah, but here's why I think it fails overall as saying this was the only problem. Because we find the exact same situation in Judges 11, and even a similar situation in Judges 19, and Genesis 19. In Genesis 19, there were daughters at the house. They could have surrounded a house and said, give us your daughters. They didn't do that. That being said, it's not even clear that the daughters lived there, which means they would have been part of the hospitality code, because later when they have to go warn their future son-in-laws, they're not living with them. The daughters don't live at home. It seems like they're already betrothed or they're already married. It's not clear. Some of the rabbis think that there were even 4 daughters rather than 2 daughters. It's a complicated mess. That being said, Judges 19 is even more clear. There are 2 strangers that show up at the house. One of them a Levite, one of them the concubine of a Levite. They could have showed up and said, give us your woman. They didn't do that, because if you wanted to depict a society as being as wicked as humanly possible, they're not just going to violate all the hospitality laws. They're also going to violate like the sexual morals that your society believed in. That's why when they came to that house, they pounded on the door and wanted to have a piece of the man rather than a piece of the woman, because that's the worst way you could possibly depict these people. Not just that they're breaking hospitality laws, but look, they're actually exchanging their natural relations with women for men.
Interesting. Okay.
And
that's
to be
really
sure that,
insightful. So
yeah. I mean, they still, it's clear in Judges 19 that they were still into women, because after they couldn't get the man and they threw the concubine out to him, they had their way with her all night till she was dead. So like, they could have just showed up and said, give us the woman, but they didn't. They showed up and said, give us the man, because like, if you're making a story that's justifying why you don't like these people and you're depicting them in the worst light possible, that's one of the things you would do to them.
Okay. So then the moral of all of this is just throw the Bible complete out.
That's just trash. Yeah, I mean, you can use it for kindling. It works fine there.
That's the moral of most of our shows, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Hey, with that, Sarah,
Okay, well,
I hope this answers questions.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied with this call. Thank you so much for your generosity and the work that you both are doing. Everybody at the line, you're great.
It's good to hear from you, Sarah.
Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
I dropped the links that I mentioned, as well as one or two more in the chat. So you got a few papers floating around there in the chat if you want to see them. One about a couple about brains. I think I put the one about trans phantoms. I didn't put the one about the frickin' body scans. Let me see if I can find that one really quickly. Also, I was giggling and trying to keep a straight face as you were talking about how at this time being penetrated is really the difference between being a man or a woman. And I'm familiar with that. I remember reading about that in a lot of or early cultural ideas of gender. It was more about less, and sexuality as well. It was less about, what parts you had and who was the fucker and the fucky. Voss, right. I think, did a really good breakdown of that, about something about, gender and archaeology. But as you were saying that, shout out to NC-TNC in the chat, who just wrote, "But I love being penetrated," with a sad face. The choice, especially to put "wov" of all, the W really sold it. Fucking hysterical. I was dying about that. And I'm trying to hold it together because you're over here talking about rape and shit. And I'm trying not to show that. But
well, if you're a Christian, you're in luck, because pederasty was a loophole. I don't know if you guys knew this, because if you were still a child, you weren't a man yet, and there were some carve outs in the Greek society for this.
It's like the freaking Plato talking about heavenly love, and it was just pedophilia. It was absolutely just pedophilia.
Yeah. These great minds, these great philosophers of the Greek age, they were all diddling boys at the symposium. They were getting drunk and raping boys. That's what they were doing.
That's what they were, absolutely. Let me see if I think this is the right one. This is Neuroimaging Studies in People with Gender Incongruence by Krukels and Guillemon from a time, I'm sure, published in International Review of Psychiatry. Is that right? Yes. So I think that's the correct one, published in 2016. I just put that in there. I think that's the one that I'm talking about. I could be wrong. Let me scroll through my PDF here and see if it has I'll recognize the pictures instantly because they're really cool looking. Nope. Well, that's just another one. You just get that as a bonus then. Fuck you. I don't know, man. But yeah, I'll try to find that other one as well. But it's all cool stuff. There's a lot of interesting things there. Let's talk to. We've got 3 atheists waiting right now, and no theists. Looks like we have one theist who may or may not be in the screening room.
Apparently, God needed to take a late night nap.
Exactly. I'm just saying. We've got. Oh, actually, no. Hey, that person got through right now. So let's talk right now to Andrew. Pronouns he him. Calling in all the way from Nimble Jaguars, aren't they all? Who wants to know about what we can do to help fix the suicide rate in trans people. Andrew, you're on the line with Forrest and Justin. How you doing today?
What's going on, Forrest? Would you say New Jersey? It's new. Would you?
I said Nimble Jaguar.
Nimble. Yeah, that was hilarious. I could have sworn I heard it before, but okay. Yeah, I want to know what can be done about trans suicide because I was doing some reading and because people say that I just come in and don't read anything or whatever, and it said that gender affirming care it reduces suicidal ideation, but it don't seem like it's like crazy significant. Like it's like one of the studies said it's 73%. Trans people have a 73% suicidal ideation, but then after gender affirming care, it goes to 43%. So I guess that's pretty good, but it's not the best. It's still higher than the general public.
So if you had two things, number one, the answer to your question is stopping it. We need to stop attacking trans people. We need to be more accepting and loving towards trans people and stop arguing about whether or not they exist and whether or not they're valid in their identities and putting out such hateful, stupid fucking rhetoric about them and having so many bills passing through Congress and being argued and debated in every single state all the fucking time about what should be done with 1% of the population. We need to get with the times, get with science, accept them for who they are, and quit fucking arguing about them and just leave them the fuck alone to live their lives. And then when they're living in a happy, healthy society that loves them for who they are and accepts them for who they are, then that rate will go down. Because the one thing that we see the biggest fucking correlation with suicidality is lack of acceptance. When they are in a home that is rejecting them, when they are around friends and family that are rejecting them, when they have to live their day in and day out, every single fucking day, knowing they live in a country where the leaders think that they don't exist and they're all just mentally ill, despite what actual fucking science says. You get rid of that, no longer is this as much of a problem. I would hypothesize that it wouldn't be a problem at all. What I think is more important there is you're talking about, you put a 30% drop there, and you said, I mean, that's not really significant. Andrew, if you had a pill, a drug that you could give a child and reduce their chance of having suicidal thoughts by 30%, you would call that a fucking miracle drug. Like anybody would be behind that.
That's the word significant. Yeah, the word significant. I should have said not significant. I shouldn't have said that. What I mean is, even though it drops it from 73 to 43, 43 is still pretty high.
Yes,
so
because they still live in a society.
Is,
because they still live in a society where we have shows like this, where we have a steady stream of callers calling in to say all of biology, all of psychology, all of sociology, all of anthropology, all of neuroscience are all wrong because they learned about penises and vaginas in 6th grade and nobody knows anything more than that.
Yeah. I mean, some of the studies, I mean, they do have, what a CDC, it says like how it's not, some of the studies they're not funded enough, so there isn't enough data on it. But I can understand from what we got that it's all we can go by for right now. But like with trans surgeries, some studies say it is a pretty significant drop in suicidal ideation, but then some studies will say that it can increase significantly suicidal ideation after post-surgery.
Which
so I
studies?
don't know which. I'll go to it for you. It's let me see. Gotta bear with me. I'm on the phone, so.
Well, I'll tell you what. While you're finding that,
okay, here we go. I found it.
Oh, hey, all right.
Yeah. So it says it's just an AI overview. So it says here.
So it's not a study.
Yeah, it's just a summary. Yeah, no, it's not an official study. I'm gonna go to the study.
Yeah, Andrew, you should never ever trust the AI overview on anything ever. Just so you know.
Yeah, it's just pulling nonsense from like Reddit threads and bad public articles, news stations, people's blogs.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee if I put it in the right words, I can get it to do an AI overview using one of my blog posts from like 10 years ago.
I literally, in one of my recent videos, got AI to argue and defend the idea that any logical person, anybody in the whole world with half a brain, could easily see that the moon is indeed made of cheese. So, like, or no, I'm sorry, pardon me. It was a space station controlled by mice. That's what it was, and that the moon made of cheese was one of the evidences that it gave for a cultural background to that knowledge. So, like, I did it as an example to show why AI can't be trusted for shit. The key here is
the National Institute of Health a credible source.
Yes, if you had something from the National Institute of Health that said that, so the National Institute of Health is the largest biomedical science research organization in the country. And if they had like a credible stance saying that gender affirming care increases suicide rates or rates of suicidal ideation, that would be very interesting to hear.
No, not care. This is for surgery. So it says individuals who underwent gender affirming surgery had a 12.12-fold higher suicide risk attempt than those who do not.
Okay, so let's take that at face value, because I think there might be more to it than that. But let's just take that at face value. Here's this person who has been going so far, like, who is trying like hell to transition, going all the way now into getting surgery, which is not an early step, right? That is a very late step in transition that is following a ton of doctor's visits, psychologist visits, talking to all sorts of professionals all over the place, social transition, starting hormone therapy, all these things that eventually lead up to surgical interventions like that. That person lives in a country where the president got on stage and said they don't exist. What do you suppose might happen to that person who has put so much into this effort to treat their gender incongruence and their gender dysphoria and to alleviate the symptoms of this stress they're having of living their life in a body that does not align with their perception of themselves, and is now finally at a point where they're able to live their full selves? And now the president gets up on stage and says this person does not exist and is just crazy. What do you think that person is going to feel?
I'm pretty sure they're going to feel pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, here's the thing, dude. There is a significant risk of suicide with fucking, like, LASIK eye surgery. It's not a huge percentage, but there is a regret rate, and the regret for LASIK eye surgery can be so painful and so bad, it is associated with suicide. The regret rate for laser eye surgery is significantly higher than the regret rate for transition.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, joint replacements and shit like this. The reason we don't talk about those things is because it's not politically fashionable.
Yeah. Like I can make a concession when it comes to, like, I'm sorry?
Well, I'm saying it's not politically fashionable. Meanwhile, it is politically fashionable to pretend that every major medical association in this country is missing something when it comes to suicidality and gender affirming care. Because what I have in front of me here, what I was going to read, was this publication from the American Medical Association from a year or two ago that I've referenced several times on this show. I'm just going to quote this paragraph directly. Every major medical association recognizes the vital role of gender affirming care in improving the physical health and mental well-being of transgender individuals. Widely accepted standards of care and clinical guidelines recommend a staged process for transgender minors that enable young people to explore and live the gender that they choose while keeping options open. Studies have consistently demonstrated that providing gender-affirming care that is both age-appropriate and evidence-based leads to improved mental health outcomes. Conversely, denying such care is linked to a greater incidence of anxiety, depression, and self-harm. And this is later on in the thing. It goes on for a while. The opening of this, the second paragraph, is talking about suicide rates and how transgender people create a disproportionately high burden of mental health conditions, including depression, anxiety, and suicidality, which can be tied to gender dysphoria, but also, most importantly, social stigma and discrimination. And so here's this thing from the American Medical Association, published in 2022, written and published by the president of the American Medical Association at that time, stating that discrimination and stigma are what lead to the suicidality. And the thing that brings that suicidality down is access to gender affirming care as backed and based in evidence. And when we deny that, this shit goes haywire. And so you're pulling from whatever one random study you found that says this thing with no context whatsoever. For all I know, the next sentence is, however, here's where this is probably wrong. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough for me when every major medical association says something different. Biology says something different. Psychology says something different. Fucking sociology says something different. I think I said psychology already. Anthropology says something different. Like, it's just not appropriate.
Yeah, I can make it because most people can concede. And like if it's like, you know how you have some transgender, like let's say transgender women, for example. There are some transgenders that look like, you know, because it's going to be difficult for people to, depending on how the trans person look, like there's some trans people who look exactly like biological women, and then there are other trans people who look up. Huh?
I'm just correcting your grammar. There's no such thing as a biological woman.
What do you mean?
They're females, but woman and female are different things. Woman is a social construct. Yeah. So while it has a biological component, there is no such thing as a biological woman or a biological man.
Yeah, but most people, when they hear the word woman, they're thinking biological females. That's most of the world. That's the only reason why I said woman. Okay, I think that's fair enough.
Most people, when you talk about evolution, think about a monkey giving birth to a human, and that's simply not true either. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking about scientifically speaking, because that's what we're talking about. You're trying to reference studies. You're trying to talk about what's best for transgender people. I'm telling you, if we're going to use scientific language, let's stick to it. Woman is a social thing, not a biological thing. And while, yes, there is, of course, a biological component because, you know, social creatures are biological things. So, yes, of course, it relates back to biology. It's not appropriate to use terminology like that because it is very misleading.
Okay, well, there are some trans people who look like biological females, but you have other trans people, they look kind of odd. Like you look at a trans, like there are some that you can clearly see that it's a man. Like it's a biological male, I meant to say.
There are plenty of cisgender people that also look like the opposite gender. What's your point? I talked about on the show that I was on just before this, when I was a child, I had really long hair, like way down my back, and I'm not exactly a beefy dude, and I was even scrawnier then. You could wrap your whole arm or whole hand around my arm. So I was this scrawny, long-haired kid with a high-pitched voice. I got misgendered all the fucking time. I looked like a girl to a lot of people. What does it matter?
Forrest, if you were to grow your hair, you would not look like a girl. Like I can.
Not right now, but when I was a kid, I was talking about when I was in middle school. My voice hadn't dropped yet. I had a very small frame. I had a little baby face. So, like, okay, and even as an adult, I have met women that have better facial hair growth than I do for hormonal reasons. So, like, what are we talking about?
Wait, those
femboys exist, as people in the chat are pointing out. There are men who like to cross-dress and are indistinguishable from women. And they that's their whole thing. For whatever reason, they do that.
Andrew, I got a question. Why do you care?
Fair enough.
Why are you investing all this time? Because I'm looking at the way this is playing out. I'm looking at a person who's invested a bunch of time into doing like half-ass research just so they can have an excuse to disrespect trans people. I don't understand what the goal is.
No.
What's your goal? What are you trying to get to? Who are you saving right now?
Well, so most of the country, you know, self-ID as, you know, some kind of religious or you know, some kind of Christian or whatever. And a lot of you know, Christians feel that if they in their minds, I'm not saying that
Are you
that the trans
victimized?
people are being.
Are you a victim of trans ideology?
Well, no. In their minds, they feel that they're lying if they have to call a
Have you been
biological
harmed?
female.
No, you're not lying by respecting their pronouns. Do you call
Also,
God a he,
like-
him?
Yeah, but
That's a good point.
Do you call God a he, him?
do I call God a he, him?
Yeah. You refer to him as he?
No, I just call him the Lord.
You
You
literally
liar.
just said him. You call him the
You said, "I
Lord,"
call
is
him
what
the
you
Lord.
literally just said.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yes, I use he, him. Yes.
Does God have a penis?
Or XY chromosomes, or
No,
a
God.
narrow pelvis, or any of these other things.
So it sounds like in some cases you're okay with lying. You're doing all this work for no reason.
don't we
There's no
believe-
benefit to anybody. This is strictly just an ideological war over people who are uncomfortable with the fact that science has moved beyond their first grade understanding. That's all this is. It doesn't cost you anything to be nice to trans people, whether you understand the science or not. It costs you nothing. Nobody's harmed.
Well, what do you mean by harm? Like if Christians feel that they have to call a man or woman, what they perceive as a man or woman, how is that not harmful?
They don't. They're not calling
They
anybody anything, and they're not forced to believe it.
This
No
is the
one's
thing. Is
forcing
like
you
you,
to believe it.
You believe that? No, but you believe they ought do it. Like they ought call them use.
yes, I
pronouns.
also, yes, I
Yeah,
also
they ought
believe
to
that
respect
they ought,
other people. Yeah.
I also believe they ought to believe in evolution because it's very clearly, obviously true. And a lot of Christians don't for the exact same reason. They don't understand the science. They reject it out of hand. They prefer what it says in their holy book. And they're an asshole about science. And so, like, whatever. It's the exact same situation. No one's forcing you to do anything. But if you are scientifically literate, then you're going to do it properly. Or if you're just a decent person, you're going to do it properly. That's all we're saying. And your whole argument, the reason you called in is what can we do to fix the suicide rate? It's that. It's whether or not you understand these people, don't be a dick to them. In the same way, you don't have to understand the science of homosexuality. There is great biology, a lot of really good research into what homosexuality is and why homosexuality is natural and normal and totally fine and not a crazy thing at all. In biology, we are cool with homosexuality. And yet there's a lot of fucking ignoramuses out there. What?
How is homosexuality fine? You can't even reproduce with that.
You can't
Why is
reproduce if
reproduction
you're
the goal?
infertile either. That doesn't matter. There are people that are born without gonads, without certain structures, with a tilted uterus, with whatever other thing that can't reproduce. If a woman passes menopause, she can't reproduce. Is her life worthless now?
Yeah, that is true.
Reproduction
No,
reproduction isn't the goal.
That,
and so in biology, we have seen homosexual behavior in over 1,500 animal species. There are a lot of really good hypotheses about why it happens, even why it could be adaptive and evolutionarily advantageous. In some cases, there's a lot of information there about what we've learned. And nobody in biology in this point is saying that homosexuality is wrong, bad, unnatural, whatever. There are a lot of idiots out there that don't like homosexuals because they're not scientifically literate. And if we were still treating homosexuals the way that we used to be 30 years ago, I guarantee that they would be as closeted and as prone to suicide as they were 30 years ago. Fortunately, we've grown as a society and we're a lot more understanding and accepting of homosexuals now. And so we don't have as many problems with mental health issues in that community. Same exact thing with trans people. If you just get with the program and just act like a decent human being, it doesn't matter if you understand the biology or not. If you do, it's better, but you just have to be a decent person and everything will be okay. No one's hurting you. It doesn't cost you anything. You're not lying. You're just being a part of society.
Andrew, do you think that all human beings ought to have children?
Do I think all human beings? Well, no, because it's impossible for all human beings to have children.
Then saying it's bad to allow trans and LGBTQ people to exist because they're not having children, which first of all isn't true, it's a bullshit excuse because you don't believe that all humans ought to have babies anyways.
Also,
Well, no, I
can't
think
stress
that
enough. Gay people can have babies too.
I think that women. This is where I look at it. I think like I believe in more like duties. Like, you know how men they have a duty to defend the nation and stuff like that. I think I'm not saying
Says
all
who?
women can do it, but I do think that what.
Says who? First of all, you totally just said duty like 3 times. Second of all, who is deciding on these duties? Nobody. It's society. It's a social construct. It doesn't mean anything. By the way, so is gender, and largely sexuality as well.
Well, who
Sexuality and gender. Here's
okay.
a fun fact for you: gender and sexuality and race. Gender and sexuality and race, these are all things that are social constructs that have been used as socioeconomic and power systems more than anything else over the course of the centuries.
Okay, so you said race is a social construct.
Correct. And I swear to fuck, if you ask me why can't I identify as another race, I'm going to lose it.
Wait, what? Somebody asked you that?
Yes, people, dumbasses ask me that frequently, and it's really fucking stupid. So I was just saying, if you were going to take it that way, I was going to be cross with you, Andrew.
Okay, all right. No, I'm not going to ask that. Okay. You said that it's not about sex; it's how you identify. So, can I ask, if a man is dating a trans woman or having sex with a trans woman, is that straight? That always confuses me.
Of course,
Does
of
it
course,
fucking
that's
matter?
straight. It's a man and a woman.
Are you having a good time?
And also, that's also a good question. It doesn't. Number one, it doesn't matter. Number two, it depends on what system of sexuality you're using. And number three, if you're using our system of sexuality, then yeah, a man and a woman having sex sounds like heterosexuality to me.
So, like a biological male that identifies as a woman, how is that not homosexual? It's two sex.
Because it's right. But when we talk about homosexuality, the sexuality, when we're talking about there, it's not referring to sex. It's referring to gender. Sexuality is a different thing.
So if a trans guy, if a guy is giving his trans girlfriend or whatever a blowjob, you're gonna say that's straight sex?
It's weird how much you're thinking about this. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we've cracked the code. I think Andrew's been having some closeted or erotic fantasies about a trans person, and he's trying to figure out how to work his way around here. You can just go do it. We don't care.
Not.
You can have.
We're not your
trans lady if she's into it.
No, you already believe in an incest trans deity. You're a theist, right? Are you a theist?
Yeah, he's a Christian. He's a Christian, I believe.
And you're a Christian.
Yes.
Yeah, you already believe in an incest trans deity. I don't know why this is even a problem for you.
Jesus didn't have a Y chromosome.
Yeah, Jesus had to knock up his own mother to give birth to himself. And she was already betrothed. He committed adultery at the same time. He should have died twice.
That's true.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what y'all talking about. You said
Jesus didn't have a male human parent, therefore he could not have had an X chromosome. Therefore, Jesus was also transgender. And also, as Justin was just pointing out, he had sex with Mary because Jesus and God are the same person. So he impregnated his own mother, which means that his mother also cheated on her husband, Joseph. So it's incest and adultery and transgender shit all together in the same thing. Isn't that crazy?
Wait.
Yeah.
So God had physical sex with Mary?
He knocked her up. It says in Luke that the Holy Spirit came upon her.
No, did he have intercourse?
He gave her the he gave her the shekel shot. I know that much.
Yeah, but he didn't have physical intercourse. It's not like God came down like Zeus did and freaking started humping away at Mary. That's not what happened.
Well, there you go.
Didn't. When the angels knocked up the women, they had physical sex with them. So spiritual beings can have sex with human beings. That's how we got the Nephilim. Hey, it's your mythology book, not mine.
Also, from where are you drawing this?
Okay.
Even if you get away with the incest part, you still have the adultery part and you still have the transgender part. So, like, I don't know, dude. It's just, I think you should be more curious. And I think that you should do what a lot of people don't do and just sit down and really think about your own gender and wonder, what actually is it that makes you a man? If you lose your penis tomorrow, are you no longer a man? If something happens to your body and you get some crazy mutation that you no longer have a Y chromosome anymore, are you no longer a man? Like, what is it about? How do you know you're a man fundamentally? And then, ask yourself what that means for sexuality and everything else, and just explore a little bit. Have some fun exploring.
What? All right, but I know how I'm a man. You have a penis, you have vas deferens, you have testes, right. You have.
Now, and whatever you gotta tell yourself to sleep at night.
If I cut those off of you, are you no longer a man?
I'll probably be dead.
No, people lose their genitals all the time and they don't die. So, like, you're in an accident, your penis. Sorry, go ahead.
If you cut all those out, yes, I would.
Or how often do you have to reassure yourself that you're a man?
Literally never, Justin.
No, never crossed my mind. I'm having a lot of concerns about Andrew right now.
Yeah. I make a concession. If we'll start using preferred pronouns, Andrew, and y'all start calling God and flying spaghetti.
You come out. It's okay. We'll accept you.
That's hey. Like, I appreciate it. Andrew just said that he will use people's preferred pronouns. That's great.
I use the pronouns.
That's all we needed.
Calling him the flying spaghetti monster. But you have to stop calling, God the flying spaghetti monster, the sky wizard, and all this other stuff.
Cloud zombie, cumulus corpse, cloud cadaver.
Well, secularists do. They call him the spaghetti monster or whatever.
The flying. I'm wearing a flying spaghetti monster shirt right now. Flying spaghetti monster is a different god. We don't call your god the flying spaghetti monster. We call the flying spaghetti monster the flying spaghetti monster because it is the one true god.
Well, they do that to mock our god. Like they say your god is that's what they do.
No, the flying spaghetti monster isn't mocking your god. You don't need an extra entity to mock your god. He's a child rapist. I mean, what more do we need?
Himself.
We just read the book.
Yes.
So you just
the thing is, like, for you to say, I'll start using people's preferred pronouns when they are nice to me and when they respect my religion, when your religion is wholly disrespectful, like, that's just childish, dude. You should just be able to respect people as they are for the sake of doing it. You don't need to have this tit for tat, believe in or be nice to me in my fucking slavery book, and then I'll start accepting your existence. That's just shitty.
Wait, so trans people can talk crazy to us and show up and LGBT can throw entire freaking parades and stuff, and they throw things at preachers, but we're supposed to be nice.
Have you never seen any of the March for Life parades or any of the Christian parades? You've never been to one of those?
Yes.
You've never been to literally any of those marches around town?
I've never seen a Christian parade nowhere near as big as LGBT.
I've been to multiple Christian parades.
Okay,
that's
then
because they have
maybe
better
you should
shit
do
going.
something.
They know how to throw a fucking party.
Yes. You've never seen a Christian parade as big as an LGBT parade. Maybe that's an issue with marketing and branding, Andrew. Maybe you should get more friends for Christianity. Maybe Christianity should be a more attractive and appealing idea because as of right now, people are naturally trans, homosexual, bisexual. Being LGBT is natural. It's not something they're choosing. It's just who they are. And you have a movement now saying, hey, who you are is acceptable. It's nothing that you can control, and it's nothing you need to be ashamed of. We accept you. We love you. We welcome you in our community. We're sorry about all the past, all the bullshit you've had to deal with for decades and centuries and millennia, all these horrible things you've gone through. It's over now. Let's dance. Let's celebrate. Let's have a fun time. That's what that is. The Christian parade is, repent of your sins or burn forever because you're so fucking evil because of the way you were born was sinful and broken and wrong because a rib woman ate a fruit because a talking snake told her to. And it's like, it's get a better message and maybe people will show up for the Christian parade. But as of right now, you have a fucking Bronze Age sex and slavery manual that tells you that you should be sorry about whether or not you touch yourself and what kind of food you can eat and who it's allowed to have sex with and who you're allowed to own as property and all this horrible shit. And the competition for you is be yourself. I love you. Sorry. It's not going to be a good competition, dude.
Last time Christians had a gathering large enough to rival a gay pride parade, it ended with getting the fucking trains. I don't think we need any more of those.
Seriously. That's the thing, dude, is like, it sounds to me like you are concerned that non-Christian people are going to treat Christians the way that Christians have taught fucking everybody for the past, couple of millennia. Like, that's what it sounds like. And I'm telling you, that's not a concern. We will never treat Christians the way that Christians have treated everybody else. We're not going to do that shit.
Well, that's obviously not true. I don't know if you've been to any con where preachers be at, but even you ever heard of this guy named Pastor David Lynn from Canada?
No. Is this the one that you told us last time? Is this the one you told us last time is proof that Christians are oppressed because a trans person was mean to him and the police didn't help him?
No, not that. No. This is a different situation where he was trying to baptize a guy and a bunch of gay people showed up and started throwing stuff, and the police did nothing.
Okay,
that's a different situation. You can literally look that up on YouTube.
Right. Was this person you're talking about, were they allowed to speak? Were they allowed to exist? Were they allowed to preach in public?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Canada is free speech.
Right. So they're not. What's the issue? Because there was a time here in this country where being gay and being trans was illegal and you would be landed in jail. So when was it ever illegal to be Christian?
Well, probably not in this country. It hasn't happened. No.
Hasn't been the case for thousands of years.
Well, yeah. I mean, Trump just announced. Well, they're not being killed in this country. That is true, but Christians everywhere, especially in Nigeria, Christians are being massacred like crazy.
Sure, and in China, Muslims are having a genocide perpetuated against them.
Yeah. So
and there are also plenty of places where LGBT people are being massacred like crazy too. So, can you point to an instance where can you point to an instance where Christians are more oppressed or even comparably as oppressed as LGBT people? Especially considering the fact that part of the reason why LGBT people are oppressed is because of Christianity.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. I mean, at least over here, they're not doing a good job at oppression because they have massive parades. So.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying to you is like you were talking about like, oh my God, that we're so oppressed. They're so horrible. Like, no, dude, it's not. You are not oppressed. You are not having any issues here.
That's a real bullshit excuse that you're saying that people in the LGBT community aren't oppressed because they have parades. That's as dumb as saying we solved racism because we had a black president once. That's a horrible way to phrase it. Just because they're having parades doesn't mean there's no oppression going on.
I mean, if you even on social media, if you talk bad about LGBT or trans, you got. Remember in 2018, 2019, 2017, where they had that whole ban thing. Like if you talk about LGBT, you were labeled transphobic or homophobic, and they kicked you off all the platforms.
Okay. I've never seen that happen, but if it happened to you, I'd clap.
Well, I'm saying it did happen. Elon had to buy X, so
did it happen to you?
The conservatives can have some.
Did it happen to you?
Right. No, because
okay. So it happened to other people that you don't know that you didn't actually see. Just so we're
Also,
aware,
like,
you didn't see it happening. You just know about it from like these news reports.
It's so
Yeah,
fucking
it was
lame.
on like Fox
yes,
and
people.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Andrew, people were kicked off of social media platforms for being bigoted because those social media platforms have a responsibility to maintain a safe and healthy environment. Otherwise, people on those people aren't going to come to those platforms. They don't want to be around shitty, bigoted people, right? So in order to grow as a platform and make it safe for children and make money, they kick people off of the platform for being bigoted. You just described capitalism. That's how capitalism works.
okay, yeah, fair enough. They can do, they can kick. I mean, you're right. That is capitalism. I mean, if they want to kick people, kick people off, that's fine.
Yep.
But
so what's the problem?
No, I'm just telling you why conservatives were Christians and conservatives were being, because you said that this country was oppressive to LGBT, but it don't seem like it. Like I just personally don't see it.
They were
being
that's like
saying racism doesn't exist because I don't see it. That's not an excuse.
Right, exactly.
Just because you don't personally see it doesn't mean that it's not happening. That's bullshit.
And I guarantee those platforms, except for Twitter, which you can get away with it, but like most other platforms, if you're shouting racial slurs, they will also kick you off of that platform for the exact same reason. That doesn't mean racism doesn't exist. That doesn't mean people of color aren't oppressed.
Not if you do racial slurs against white people, they don't kick you off.
Okay.
Name one racial slur against white people. Name one.
Calling them cracker. Calling them
don't even care. It doesn't faze me a bit.
Who takes that seriously?
It might not faze you, but it's still racist.
Right. But here's the thing, dude.
Oh no.
If you are super racist towards white people, guess who still isn't oppressed in any way at all? It's white people. Not a historically marginalized group ever.
Nah.
No,
I showed them the job interview and they said that motherfucker looks like he can do a job. They don't doubt me a bit, but there's a lot of people, they show up at a job interview without even opening their mouths and they're not even going to get a job. The reality is I enjoy the most benefits a human being could possibly enjoy in this country merely because I was born into it. I'm not oppressed.
Okay, one last question before I go. Would you rather live in a Muslim country or a Christian country?
Does it matter? I'd rather live in neither.
It depends on how.
I know you pick neither, but
it depends on how secular the government is or how fundamentalist the government is. Because I would rather, if you're talking about a Christian country, Nazi Germany was a Christian country. I don't want to fucking live there. Meanwhile, America is also a Christian country, but it's a lot more secular in its governance. So I would rather live here than Nazi Germany. Same exact thing with I don't want to live in fucking the United Arab Emirates because it's a very Muslim country. I don't want to fucking live in Saudi Arabia, a very Muslim country, but I would be happy to live in like 90s Iran, you know, when things were very secular, or not 90s, probably 70s. 70s Iran, when things were very secular and very progressive and very functional. Happy to live in a place like that.
I don't know if Iran in the 70s
actually matters because for like the first,
they were that progressive in
1400 years of the church, the Christian church was way more violent than the Muslims were. It just happens to be that we're living in a pocket of time where the Christians are less violent than the Muslims, but that wasn't always true.
And that's only talking about like physical violence. If we're talking about political violence, oof, it's comparable. And also it depends that like I get to make that choice also as a man. And so if we're asking as a woman, totally different question, because like, fuck me, I wouldn't want to live in the Christian country that was America a little while ago as a woman either. So like, very different.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live as an America as a woman now, to be honest with you.
They like just got access to bank accounts like 5 decades ago, like 1970 something. Women finally got access to bank accounts.
Wait,
we weren't exactly the shining beacon on the hill.
Wait, you say you want to live in America as a woman?
No, he didn't say that. What he said was, if you have to, choose between a Muslim or a Christian country, being a woman would be terrible in both.
Yes, and the time scales are also different. I'm saying also today, in this day and age, I would not want to live in America as a woman at all. I would want to move somewhere else.
Also, we're not.
What?
We're not a Christian country, so
are
there's
some
another
of the
thing.
most entitled. Women today are the most entitled people on earth. Like I
would expect to hear that from an incel. Yeah, that's exactly what an incel would say.
I'm sure Andrew Tate told you that. Yeah, if you go to the doctor right now and you say you have severe stomach pain, what do you expect the doctor to do, Andrew?
If I go to the doctor and I have severe stomach pain, try and cheat, hopefully he can treat it.
Right, unless you're a woman, in which case you are statistically more likely for them to just assume you are hysterical and crazy or probably pregnant. They'll tell you to lose some weight and they'll send you on your way. And if just fun fact, women have significantly worse health outcomes in this country as a result of that kind of medical sexism. Also, car safety features are not designed for women. We use smaller crash test dummies rather than one that's based on a female body. We take the male one and shrink it down, which is why women are significantly more likely to be severely injured or die in a car crash than men are. We don't use women very regularly in clinical trials. Women weren't even allowed as a regular part of drug testing until the mid 90s. We didn't the first time there was a scientific test testing the absorbency of menstrual products using blood instead of water was 2 years ago. No, dude, women are not entitled. They are massively underrepresented, marginalized, oppressed, looked down on. They do not get proper hair or they're not taken seriously properly. We don't have paid maternity leave in this country as a universal thing. No, fuck no.
Maybe I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't see
I know you don't.
A bunch of
that's the end of every single call.
I mean,
yeah,
the
Andrew,
way
do you have a job?
way they be talking to dudes
let me ask you. I want to illustrate something for you, Andrew. Do you have a job?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do your coworkers ever wonder if you can do your job merely because you're attractive and you have a rack? Do people ever wonder if you actually just got hired because someone wants to look at your ass?
No.
Because that's what women have to do every day.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah, but would you want?
How would you like going? How would you going to work and watching people whisper behind your back? Oh, she only got hired because she wears tight sweaters. They ever do that to you?
I know one of my favorite people on TikTok. She's a lawyer, and she is a professional lawyer with a law degree who works as a lawyer for a living and was giving a speech about the law. All the comment section was about fucking go back to OnlyFans. No one wants to listen to you about that. Certainly not any kind of comments I would get as a man ever.
Wait, you talking about Jasmine Jafar?
Nope.
Oh, that's who that sounds like. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
And of course, we also have
ever worked at
people like fucking Charlie Kirk, who said that if he sees a black woman as a pilot, he's going to immediately wonder if she's really qualified. Certainly wouldn't say that as a man.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. I mean,
and also we have
women,
and also a huge amount of arguments about Kamala Harris talking about how she slept her way to the top. Nobody speculated that about Donald Trump.
Yep.
Partially because nobody wants to fucking sleep with him.
I mean, you have to get past the diaper first. That's a huge, that's a big hurdle.
Yep.
I mean, all right, Forrest, man. I appreciate the call.
Not Justin, though.
You got me, and Justin too.
Well, Andrew, it certainly was something.
It was. I encourage you to be more curious, Andrew.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have the day you deserve.
What a thing.
I will never understand transphobia or homophobia for even 1 second.
It's just
there's no logic in it.
There really is.
Because the end point of every discussion is what's wrong with it? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? And you get one of two answers. It's either because my God said so. Well, your God doesn't exist. Or it's because I don't want my kid to be gay. Oh, well, big fucking deal. That doesn't make it wrong. Just because it's against your personal preference doesn't make it wrong.
Right. And also, what would be wrong with that? You know what I mean? What's the actual harm here? And we're right back around to the same thing. Shout out to the person in chat.
Circular argument.
Hey, Forrest, nice rack. Thank you for noticing. Also, we were saying, no one actually argued that Trump slept to the top. Trump did sleep to the top. It was just with children.
That is the
with
case.
that, we've got 3 calls currently on the line still, and none of them are theists. That was our last. We took Andrew because he was our only theist caller. Yeah.
This happened last time we were together on After Dark. The theists tucked tail and ran.
Yeah.
I know they're out there.
Yeah.
We've got 2,500 people watching. I know a percentage of them are theists.
It's statistically, there's no way there aren't at least 2 or 3 people out there that are like seething, just mad, like we're getting Christianity wrong. Pick up the phone. 720-619-2288. Use the web link in the description. Let's talk. I did love at the end there. I wanted to dig into it, but the call had already gone too long. It was like he said something about like, you hear the things that the women are saying to men, and I really wanted to know. What things women were saying, and just, can you please tell me one thing that women are saying about men that is any worse than what men have said about women for hundreds of fucking years, and also still today? Anything at all? But as the call had already gone way too long. And yeah, here we have Fiona Foxy in the chat sending a super chat saying their mom just died yesterday. I'm so fucking sorry, from pancreatic cancer, because women aren't treated when they need it. And fucking double that when we're talking about black women, because when a woman comes into an ER saying I'm in extreme pain, they're much more likely to be brushed off and ignored and told that they're hysterical and told that, well, you're probably pregnant, you need to lose some weight, go home, take care, And if it's a black woman, you add on, oh, they just want drugs. Oh, they're just being crazy. Oh, they're too angry. They're too violent. They're too whatever. All these other fucking stereotypes. It's all the fucking time. And that's why you have significantly worse health outcomes for these people that cannot be explained by physiology. It is pure fucking sexism and racism. Purely. There's just no way around
it. The father of gynecology did his experiments on black slaves without any medication.
Yes. Or consent. It just literally strapping women down.
Black women did not matter for most of U.S. history. I would say even now in this current era, they don't get anywhere near the respect that that white women would get, and they don't get nearly any respect that a white man would get. I got to tell you, the amount of respect I earn for doing absolutely nothing is unbelievable.
Yes, absolutely. People be holding the door open for me and shit. It's ridiculous. But like, I gotta tell you, you're talking about like black women not being respected in this way and not being taken seriously, not being seen as people. There was an argument at one time when we were we were kind of in the like post-slavery, into the Jim Crow era. There was a major argument that black women weren't women, because woman is a title of like beauty and grace and femininity that only applies to white people. And there was serious discussion about whether or not black women counted as real women. That shockingly parallels, we talk about trans women today. Like, it's crazy. And so like that blows my fucking mind as well.
There was those discussions. There were also discussions during the slave trade era where if you were going to buy a female slave, you wanted descriptions. They would describe whether or not the slave had feminine or masculine features, because obviously if you had a black female slave, you wanted her to have feminine appearance, just in case you wanted to go down and rape her. Obviously, you wouldn't want to buy one that's got masculine features. And black women, for a long part of history, were described more or less as having masculine features. Which is ridiculous.
It's crazy to me. And like all of that, again, every single bit of that, I fucking double dog dare you to find an instance when white men, when Christians, when straight people, when cisgender people as a group were treated these ways, or like, and have this fucking trauma to deal with, and have these resonances in the modern era that still matter and are still culturally relevant today. Find one thing like this. I would love to hear it. But like, it just, with Andrew the past couple of times we've talked, and it's not just him, it's with a lot of Christians. There's this fantasy of persecution, this desire to be oppressed so that you can say you are, and you can get this sympathy, and you can claim some moral authority in then imposing your religion upon somebody else. Because you see a pride parade, and because you're in a position of privilege, you see that act of equality and celebration as oppression, and you think, well, I want to force my religion up people's throats. If only I was oppressed, then I'd have a right to have a parade where I can say, you have to take me seriously, and you're not allowed to criticize me, and you're not allowed to say mean things about my religion. And like he said, I'll start respecting people's pronouns when they stop talking about the flying spaghetti monster, as if these are comparable. Like, I'll start respecting your humanity when you stop making fun of my fairy tales. What are we talking about?
They have to make up the myth of oppression so that they don't feel like they are the oppressors. That's the reason why that is the case. Yes. When you're in the oppressive class, you need to find a way to downplay it. And the way you downplay it is find ways to say how you're actually the one being oppressed. And we find this all throughout history, but it wasn't always the case. Like even as early as Church Father Origen, he's in his disputation with Celsus, says that the persecution of the Christian church was a thing of the past. He was only writing at the turn of the century. He was writing at like 215, 220, 230, which means like already like way before the Christofascism of the Holy Roman Empire, way before that, the persecution under Domitian and Nero and Caligula was already gone. It was so short-lived. Yep. It was so minor, but that became their identity for so long. They're like, well, we couldn't be the oppressors because look at what happened back when Rome was still ran by these horrible, Caesars. They oppressed us. Rah, rah, rah.
Yep. It's fucking crazy. With that, Hannah Hodgins in the chat there talking about how she has endometriosis and the doctor refused to do the operation because they said she was being dramatic. At least you got that excuse. And I have a few friends who have wanted to go and like get their tube side and everything. And it's like, no, you need to get married and have your husband sign off on it first because like you may change. It's like that blows my mind when women want to go in and have like their tubes tied or anything like that. And they're like, we need your husband's approval. That blows my fucking mind. Or you're too young. You're not married yet. We need you to wait to get married to then have your endometriosis treated because we don't want to hurt your uterus. And it's like that blows my fucking mind to smithereens. Where it's I'm in crippling pain. I have an ovarian cyst. Yes, I'm in crippling pain. I have ovarian cyst. I'm passing out from the pain. Please remove this, at least just this one ovary. You know what, though? You're 22, so you need to wait until you're at least 40, and then you're past prime reproductive age, and then we'll talk about it. Like, I can't fucking do it. Drives me up a fucking wall, dude. We've got a couple calls on the line. As of right now, we still only have atheist callers, but we do have somebody in the screening room right now. We'll see where that turns to. As for this moment, let's talk to, do you have one that you like? One that you want to talk about?
Well, you know what? I think Bill might be the closest we can get for now. He's at least agnostic.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk to Bill, pronouns he, him, calling in all the way from the other side of the world in Australia, who wants to talk about the Bible a little bit. How are you today, Bill?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Doing well. Yeah. So, Bill, you said that you're not convinced that the Bible needs to be at odds with science, and you think that spiritual expression can add to a person's worldview. It sounds to me like you're still kind of Christian, maybe a spiritual Christian, quasi-Christian, demi-Christian.
Yeah. I would accept that label. I'm not exactly sure what label I would give myself, but I'm happy with that.
Okay. So what do you think like of the Bible comports with science?
Well, my point isn't necessarily that it does comport with science. Like I think that there's a major error that Christians make when they read the Bible, which is specifically when they read it like a science textbook.
So in Luke chapter 3, there's a genealogy from Jesus always back to Adam. Is that a literal genealogy?
That's a really good question. I know that there's a range of views on that. I think that I would say it doesn't really matter to me, I guess is what I would say. I think that it's probably a bit absurd to read it literally.
So it is or isn't like literal people?
I think, yeah, well, there's certainly literal people, because I know that some of the people, I mean, off the top of my mind, I can't remember the distinctions between the two genealogies that are provided, but I know that both of them contain at least people that are real to the biblical narrative. So I think it is based on fact. But yeah, like I would say that,
right.
Yeah, as a Christian,
and so if you
I've
trace
never really
back the
believed
lineage, it goes about 6,000 years back, right?
Yeah. And I obviously I think that is not scientific. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like when we have claims like the Bible and science don't have to be at odds, the problem is they just are at odds. We have settlements like Stonehill, Turkey, and Kara Tepe over in ancient Anatolia, now Turkey, that date all the way back to the 10th century BCE, way before Adam and Eve ever supposedly existed. We have cave drawings that go all the way back to 40,000 years ago. The reality is, like before Adam and Eve was even a twinkling in any Bible writer's eyes, we had already had advanced civilizations.
Yeah, well, I guess for me it comes down to, I think that the biblical case is really misrepresented by Christians who mostly inericists, but people who read the Bible really literally. And obviously, I think there are some events that are difficult to reconcile with the historical record and scientific knowledge. But I guess the deeper question that I have is, why does that have to be the only reading of the Bible that's sort of accepted? Yeah.
Because it's the only logical position. It's quite clear that the New Testament thought that the Old Testament was actual history. And if you believe the New Testament is true, most Christians do. Most Christians think that Jesus literally was a person. Paul literally was a person. Jesus really did walk on water, was born of a virgin, all that nonsense. If you believe the claims of the New Testament, then you have to read the Old Testament as like dead literal. In fact, the whole reason why Jesus died, Romans chapter 5, was to reverse the curse from what happened in Genesis. Like the whole idea of the New Testament is that the Old Testament was true and we've got to fix. So like if the New Testament guys were real and their beliefs matter, then and you're a Christian, you kind of have to agree with the Jesus guy. Jesus believed that Noah was real. He believed that Adam and Eve was real. I mean, he based his laws on marriage out of the Old Testament, both on Genesis, and he also quotes from the book of Malachi. So like the guy thought the Hebrew Bible was real stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there that are really good that I would like to kind of dig into a bit, because I think they're really good points. I think first of all, the sort of idea that we have to agree with the way that Jesus viewed the Old Testament, and you could probably make the same argument with different biblical figures, different prophets in the Bible as well, seeing them as, seeing the interpretation of Scripture that they take. I would disagree that as someone who believes in those figures or finds spiritual value in those figures, that you have to necessarily agree with everything they say, particularly when it comes to understanding historical events or scientific truths, because they're obviously very limited in knowledge.
Well, did Jesus say some things that were incorrect?
Yeah, well, I would say so. So, I mean, that's where you're going to find me diverging. I mean, it says that agnostic, right? That's where you're going to find me diverging from the classic Christian tradition. But I guess why
would we care what Jesus have to say at all if he just says things that are incorrect? Why do we care then?
Well, I think that's a very black and white way of thinking. I think that's a very all or nothing. You don't apply that logic to people that you meet in everyday life, right? So I'll say some things that are false.
No,
some things that
I
are true.
do. When they tell me the mysteries of God, yeah, I take them to be either lunatics or I used to take them seriously. I don't anymore. But some guy claims that he is the Messiah from God, and then he claims that he is John in the Gospel of, he is part of God, at least in the Gospel of John. and then he just says things that are not true, then yeah, I'm not going to take that person seriously. I'm sure as hell not going to take any of his spiritual advice.
I guess where I disagree there is that I think that we have a very specific way of viewing spirituality in this current age, and I think that it's not necessarily a historical view. I think that you can find value in teaching, even if you don't agree with some of the foundational things underneath it. Like, I think there's still a way of finding wisdom, and I guess like the main reason I called in is because I think that.
I mean, but what I'm saying, if it's not true, why are we going through all the trouble of digging through this book of fairy tales to find parts that we like and then just discard parts that we dislike? The book is no longer serving you. If you're the arbiter of what you think truth is or what the reality is, then just throw the book away and figure it out for yourself. You don't need this book.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I think you're touching on where I wanted to kind of go with this. So I guess that's where I disagree. I don't think that you do have to throw it all away. I think that there is even value in the process. Sorry.
What's it good for?
Well, I think a lot of people find it very, very valuable for moral instruction, myself included. And
like how to tell your daughter as a slave, Exodus 21?
No, not that specifically. But
how much to pay if you rape a woman and she didn't cry out?
Yeah, I mean, you're not. To be honest, I don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff.
When's
like, I'm very happy to
appropriate time to rape little virgin girls that you've captured in war. I mean, the reality is, if you're going through this book and you're saying, well, here's some good stuff that I like, and you pluck it out, the reality is you already liked that shit before you read it in the book. You didn't need the book for that. You already know in your head what you think is right and wrong. You didn't need to find it in some book. The only thing the book does for you is it gives you like a source to hold up and say, well, I mean, I have some authority because I found it in the book. It was already in your fucking head. You didn't need the book for that. You just want to beat somebody over the head with something.
I think that's where I disagree. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that literature in general, and so you used the word fairy tale earlier, and fairy tale obviously was used pejoratively there, but really, I think mythology is extremely important. And if you look at any cultural mythological tradition, you'll find very objectionable teachings, and also what I consider to be very, very noble and useful teachings as well. I think that I completely agree with you when you bring up the idea of Bible bashing and the harm of sort of wholesale just accepting the authority of the book. But I don't think that it necessarily has nothing to contribute. I don't think necessarily that everything that's in the book has already been thought of by the individual. I think it does have things to contribute.
Let me tell you why I think this is a silly thing to believe in. It's not because you're a silly person. You're not. You're a nice guy. It's because when you have a book and you give it to somebody and you say, okay, you read this book, you'll find some good stuff in there. You don't know if the good shit they find is going to be the homophobia or the misogyny. You don't know that. They might read the misogyny. They might find Deuteronomy 25 and realize that, hey, if your brother dies, that wife has to have sex with you so that they're going to be an offspring to carry on his lineage. You don't know what parts they're going to find in that book and like. When you hand them a book that's got a couple good things in it and a whole bunch of horrible shit in it, you don't have any control over whether or not they've figured out, hey, I like this horrible shit, right? So you don't need the book. It's not serving you at all. Like you can make up your own morality without giving somebody a hopelessly confused book. That's sure. Are there some good things in it? Yeah, there are some good things in the book. I love there's some phrases and sayings and even some of the proverbs that are fantastic. But I didn't need the book for those, and they existed outside of this book. They existed in the Egyptian proverbs. They existed in some of the Babylonian and Sumerian proverbs. But the fun thing when I read the Egyptian proverbs, I don't have to read all the other mythology with it. No one's handing me a book of Egyptian mythology where it turns out that you're dirty, rotten, and you might get stoned if you're a shepherd because they didn't like shepherds. You know.
So then I guess my question to you is, do you think that there is value in reading, say, Egyptian mythology or Babylonian mythology?
So I think it's worth reading mythology as long as you understand that everything in it is man-made. There's not a single word in any mythology that has ever been given by a god. As long as that is your understanding, yes, then it's delightful. Then you're where I'm at. You're out here, you've learned the language and the culture, and you've learned all the text, and you're reading these things, and they're fucking fantastic. They're exciting. There's intrigue and betrayal and sexual unions that are illicit, and there's all kinds. It's like watching a drama unfold, like a daytime soap opera, right? But it's all fake, and that's what makes it great, because you can just put it down and said, hey, it's a cool little storybook. But when you have somebody who thinks, hey, there's some divine truth, there's divine wisdom in this book, then you lose the control over which parts of this book are they going to find that they think is from the divine. Is it going to be that horrible shit? Is it going to be the xenophobia? Or is it going to be the part where, like, Proverbs says to, when somebody speaks ill of you, heap coals upon their head, which is like an idiom for, speaking well of them anyways, so that you cause them embarrassment for them acting negatively and you acting positively after it. Like, you can't control what part of the book they're going to pick out for their divine wisdom if they think that part of it came from God. But if they know that it's all mythology, then fuck, they can read it and just have a good time and put it down.
Yeah, I see that, and I guess maybe I think I agree with you 95%. I guess the 5% that I'm still sort of that makes me think that there might be value beyond just the sort of appreciating the literature and the good bits, I suppose you could call them. And I'm certainly not advocating for taking all of it, giving it to just leaving someone alone with a book, and especially not telling them something like all of this is inerrant, inspired, and you have to believe all of it. But I guess anecdotally, my experience overwhelmingly has been that belief in a deity is so helpful in so many people's lives. I also see a lot of harm that it can cause. But for a lot of people, and I guess I would point to even things like AA, or experience of a few friends, one friend in particular who came along to my church when she was very ill, suffering through terminal cancer, and I think that there was a lot that the spiritual religious community added to her experience and was able to help and console with.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that having a belief in some sort of vague, nebulous God, it can't help some people. In fact, I've got family members that went through the AA program, and they felt like, the higher power helped them through it. But believing in a higher power is different than believing in a higher power that has a holy book. And that's a big difference. I think believing in a higher power that has an organized religion or a holy book can be incredibly dangerous. That being said, there are secular AA programs for people who need to get clean and don't believe in a higher power. And the reality is, they could just change the AA program. They don't have to make it based on a higher power, because most of it is just the placebo effect. That's really all AA is doing, is they're telling you can do it, and here's a sugar pill that's going to help you do it. We call this sugar pill God. And then they think that they can do it, and they do it. It's basically like soft hypnosis. And we know people can do amazing stuff just based on the placebo effect. They've done a placebo effect with weightlifters and things like that. And they've compared, the control group and with a group that said they were getting PEDs that didn't get them, and then a group that told they were getting PEDs and then they got them. And it turned out the group that was told they were getting PEDs but didn't actually get them performed almost as well as the group who actually did receive PEDs, because the placebo effect's very fucking powerful. But the placebo effect that you get from God, believing in a God, there's lots of things you can replace that with.
Right.
You can just give them a fucking sugar pill. Say this sugar pill is going to fix all your addiction to alcohol. Take the sugar pill, you'll be fixed. Fuck, half the people will be fine.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess I have problems with that, though, ethically, so that are probably quite similar to some of the things that we've been talking about, which are similar issues to sort of handing someone a Bible and saying, you believe all of this, or, don't question it, just do what it says. and giving someone a sugar pill when you know that it's not going to work, and telling them
more
it's more
ethical to teach people to believe in phantoms and deities and things that don't exist. That's more ethical than just using the placebo effect, something that we know is pretty damn effective.
No, I think that's a good way of phrasing it. I think that's why you have to be cautious with whatever you promote. So I guess what I'm skeptical of, more specifically, is telling or kind of categorizing all belief in a higher power as harmful, when I don't think that you necessarily, like, I think that it is. I know that I get a lot of flack from both sides when I say this, but when I think there is value to picking and choosing. I know it gets a bad rap. Everyone does it, obviously, atheists and Christians alike. But I think that that there is a lot of value to that, and still allowing someone to preserve the beliefs that they want to have in a higher power, just as someone might want to believe that pill is a sugar pill. But I guess that the ethical climb
I'm not saying
is
I'm not saying it's unethical to believe in God. What I'm saying is it's unnecessary. It's not required. There's whatever you're getting from that God, you can get from a pet rock. Buy him a pet rock.
Right. And so what I would say is why that it would be just as okay for someone to have that belief as it is for someone to find a lot of solace in their pet rock.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that believing in God is unethical. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's just not necessary.
Right. Okay,
if you're taking somebody into the program and you want them to get clean, it's not necessary to get them to believe in a higher power.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. To be honest, I don't know enough about AA to really dig more deeply into that, but that sounds very plausible to me. I guess.
Yeah.
What about the
Dr. Bob's kind of a big deal where I'm from.
Dr. Bob?
Yeah. If you know, you know. It's okay if you don't.
Okay. So I feel like I just missed the reference there, but it's okay.
There's some insiders that know. It's okay.
Okay. The other, so how about I don't know, how do you view, because I'm really curious to know, how do you view the positive effects that come with religious beliefs, religious community? So say, like when I was talking about my friend earlier who came into the church when she was very ill, how do you kind of view that?
View what? Like, I don't believe that religion is evil, by the way, just so we're aware. I mean, there are churches that do good things. I just don't think that it's necessary. Like you're hitching your wagon to a wild horse. When you hitch it to a religion and not to a generic God concept, you can't control what parts of that religion are going to manifest. You don't know if it's going to manifest in like the part where they're like, oh, we like Jesus's words about helping the poor, or if it's going to manifest in that bullshit about Luke chapter 19, bring my enemies before me and slay them in my very presence. You don't know which manifestation you're going to get. That's why organized religion is so dangerous.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm understanding a little bit, and sorry, I think I was probably misrepresenting your view a little bit there, but I think I understand that better. I guess that my lasting hang up is this idea that I think that you can have a dedication to science and a dedication to spirituality as well. Is that something that you would agree with?
I mean, maybe if you're a Buddhist.
Right, but you don't think there's a way to sort of reconcile the Christian or some form of Christian. I'm not necessarily talking about, I don't know, US Southern Baptist, Bible literalist and science, but you don't think that there's a way to sort of reconcile a Christian worldview with science?
No. Do you believe that Jesus was born of a virgin and rose from the dead?
Well, I guess I would disagree that I think that you can believe something that is contrary to general observed experience
Science.
and naturalistic explanations as an exception. And I'd say that many Buddhists would believe similar things. I'm not entirely familiar with the tenets of Buddhism, but I think there's some supernatural aspect to many Buddhists' beliefs.
So you do believe that Jesus was born of a virgin and was raised from the dead, right?
I would say I'm unsure.
Okay. Well, if the book is full of stuff that doesn't comport with science, then I guess we would just conclude that science and the Bible are at odds.
Well, I guess that's one way to view it, but only really, I think, if you read the Bible as a historical book or a literal book. I think that there's a different way to read it, which historically has been practiced by many people, to read it more as a moral guide in some ways, a spiritual story, and I think there are many instances where Christians get the Bible incredibly wrong, because they take stories from the Bible and they assume that it's literal, when really it's, the genre is mythological storytelling, things like...
No, I disagree. The genre is not mythological. You're the one taking it wrong. You're the one taking it out of its actual genre. I actually agree with the Christians. This book is purporting to be historical. You don't like it as a historical book, so you have to turn it into some sort of a, like, fairy tale, mythological, theological meaning. But the reality is, it itself is claiming to be a book of history. It's full of genealogies. It's full of dates and histories and timelines. It's a historical book.
Right.
It's just wrong.
But I would say that...
Can I just throw in just really quickly? If you had a different book that you knew for sure was not real, like not even like Harry Potter, like Lord of the Rings shit, right? It's a place that isn't real, people that aren't real, magic. If in the Lord of the Rings it said that water is made of hydrogen and oxygen, would you believe it because it's in the Lord of the Rings?
No.
Why would you believe that water is made of hydrogen and oxygen?
From, well, I don't know. I can't give you the exact explanation. I assume that mass spectroscopy or something.
It would be because there are other credible sources that corroborate that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what if I had the Bible now, and the Bible is a book full of shit that we all know didn't happen? And now you've got this claim that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin and then raised from the dead. And you're sitting here saying, well, I don't know. I think it might be, it could be like, is there ever a time ever with any other thing where you would take a book full of shit that you know didn't happen, that has a claim that you know isn't backed up by anything else, that isn't reasonable in any other way, and said, yeah, but maybe this one, right? Even with something that you knew, hydrogen and oxygen making water, you know that's true. You wouldn't believe it just because it's in a book. You'd believe it because it had external corroborating sources that are credible. There are no external credible corroborating sources for Jesus being born of a virgin, raising from the dead. That doesn't exist. So why would you treat this any different than the way you would treat anything else?
Well, I would say, first of all, I think it's important to sort of establish that a lot of ancient literature is written in that way, and not just mythology. Like ancient history, often, I know, historians like Herodotus would write.
How do we know?
A history of.
How do we know that ancient history is true? How do we know that ancient history is true?
Yeah. Well, corroboration. I think you're right. So that's why I wouldn't die on the hill of Jesus being born a virgin. I never said that I would.
I don't understand why you would set foot on the hill, not whether you would die there.
Well, spiritual belief. It's a position of faith,
right? Okay, what is faith?
Well, I would define it as belief in things not seen, not corroborated, no external evidence.
You're talking about Hebrews 11:1, the confidence in things hoped for, the assurance of things you don't see.
Yeah.
I would just call that believing in something without good evidence. The reason that you have to believe a thing when you don't have a good reason to believe a thing.
Yeah, I have
what
that.
else
I have no problem with that.
So outside of Christianity, what other things do you think you should believe based on faith?
I'm not saying that anyone necessarily should or shouldn't believe that based on faith.
I'm asking you.
What I believe that people should believe on faith. I don't know that I would necessarily say that there is anything that I believe that people should have faith in. I guess there's a few implications behind the should. I'm not really sure.
Again, not anything and not should. I'm asking you, Bill, outside of the claims of Christianity, what do you believe in based on faith?
Oh, right. I'd say in many ways I'm working it out. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure that I could give you a single thing that it depends how you qualify believe, I suppose, and how strong that is.
What should you believe? What should you, Bill, believe based on faith?
What should I believe?
Outside of Christianity, what things is it better to take on faith than to take by evidence?
Well, I suppose that I take on faith, say, if there's an event that I couldn't verify, or I don't know, a truth that I couldn't verify that someone tells me, but I think that the outcome of me believing them is better than being skeptical of the claim, then yeah, I would say that there are things that I tentatively would.
So little claims that you just take somebody's word for something. Is there ever a situation where somebody could come up to you and say, "Hey, I rose from the dead one time," and you would take that on faith?
No,
I did twice.
No, I wouldn't.
Right, and why not?
Well, yeah, because it's sort of a big thing to claim, and it goes very contrary to my understanding of how the world works.
Yes. So now you have a book from the Bronze and Iron Age that makes not just that extraordinary claim, but much more extraordinary claims. And you're saying, yeah, but this time I'm going to take it based on faith. Why? What's the difference?
Well, yeah, but I think that that's just a personal decision, right? So I would say, going back to say,
no one's saying it's not a personal decision. I'm asking if it's a reasonable or good or defensible position. I'm asking you if it's a good decision to make. Why would you make that decision here when we're talking about some fucking carpenter from Jerusalem instead of at any other time in your life?
Well, really, I mean, like, if you want me to give an explanation of why I think people, including myself, have taken that on faith, it's really just the tradition that surrounds it and the social pressures that lead to that. But I guess I'm not convinced that, and I'm not going to sit here and argue that that's perfectly logical or rational. But I guess, to me, I think it's okay for someone to believe in that if they have reason to believe that it will make their life better.
Do you care? This is the last thing, is really what it boils down to. Do you care, Bill, whether or not the things you believe are true?
Yes, I do.
So why do you not care whether or not this thing is true? Why did you talk about being useful and improving your life and all these other things rather than whether or not it's true?
Well,
I can tell you, as Justin talked about with the placebos, I can give you a bunch of beliefs that'll improve your life. None of them are true.
Right, like what?
Oh, I can have you believe that if you exercise and every day and eat a healthy diet and donate X amount of your money to good charities and make sure that the neighborhood children always have a good after school snack, that pretty soon you're going to grow 10 feet tall and you'll get a big dick and you'll earn $1 million and Jeff Bezos will send you to space on a penis-shaped rocket and it'll be great. And you can live your whole life really believing that and being a really good, healthy person, and then die disappointed. You didn't believe a true thing, but it really improved your life to believe this. Like we can make up whatever you like. But I'm asking you, do you care whether or not it's true?
If you're selling the penis rocket pills, I'll sign up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I guess my question to you then is do you think there's value in doing that? Is there value in signing up people to your penis rocket pill program? Would you do that?
No, because then we get into when have you ever read the Republic by Plato?
Yes.
So you know what I'm talking about with Socrates talking about the noble lie. You remember that part?
Yes. Yeah, I'm familiar.
So that's what we've been describing here. Is it reasonable? Is it moral? Is it good? Is it useful to deliberately lie to children until you have a whole society structured around a lie that makes society run better? And ultimately, what you are doing there is taking away people's free will. You are putting in your personal arbitrary belief of what better means and manipulating people through by. In that case, it was largely like racism, but like whatever it may be, you're manipulating these people into a system that is causing them to live the way that you personally think people should live. It is just ethnocentrism mixed in with fucking just authoritarianism and evil. It's a fucked up way to be. So yes, there's a major problem with that. And when we talk about major religions like Christianity, it is, if anything, a domestication tool for humans. I'm telling you that you're going to go to this theme park in the sky and be forgiven of all the evil sins that you happen to have been born with anyway. And all you have to do is believe what I tell you to believe, act the way I tell you to act, talk the way I tell you to talk, dress the way I tell you to dress, fuck the way I tell you to fuck. You need to live your life the way that I tell you is the only proper way to be a human. Fuck that, dude. You should be thinking rationally about everything that you believe and really coming up with a good reason to believe it. Even things that you think are good, like automatic good stances. Why is racism bad? Why is rape bad? Why is murder bad, right? These shouldn't just be because they're just bad. You should have a good reason for these things and be able to sit down and really articulate that and rationalize it and build a cohesive understanding of the world. Not just, I read it in some fucking Bronze Age sex slavery manual and it told me that this is what I should do. And so I just believed it because I believed it because I believed it because I believed it because I believed it. That doesn't help anybody, least of all you. And you've already said that you wouldn't treat anything else this way. So I don't think you should be treating this way either. I think it's way better for you to sit down and really care about whether or not the things you believe are true. And that includes your beliefs in Christianity. If they're true, you should believe in them. If they're not true, you shouldn't believe in them. And if you're looking for morals and guidance and all these other things, make them. Figure them out. Read other great philosophers. Don't pick through a fucking book where you have to say, okay, so obviously the stuff about how to own slaves is bad, and the stuff about how to rape kids is bad, and the stuff about how to beat your slaves is bad, and the stuff about owning your wife as property is bad, and the stuff about this is bad, and the stuff about genocide is bad, blah, blah, blah. But one time it said love your neighbor, and that's pretty cool. Fuck that. Every philosophy has good and bad things. Just, for lack of a better word, intelligently design your philosophy and your morality. Think it out. Right. Don't let some fucking god, let alone this god, tell you what to do.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think that the danger of any sort of, especially fundamentalist religion, is when it sort of says that it provides a perfect solution that where you should deny your own ability to think and make rationalizations and come up with materialistic reasons for what you believe in. So I'm in full agreement with that. I guess, and I won't drag on this conversation because I've glanced at the chat and I see lots of people talking about falling asleep. I suppose it's getting late in the US, but you can always call me.
Oh, no, it's just because I'm very tired, and people are pointing out the fact that I apparently look as tired as I feel, which I apologize for. I'm a professional and I'm here for a show, so I'm not going to be like being sleepy on camera, but I probably don't look the best at this moment. It's also really hot in here. Well, I don't know what's going on.
The real question is, Forrest is obviously starting a sex call MLM. You want to be part of my downline?
That's what I did. Finally, somebody picked up on it. Send your donations, your seed. Send your seed funds to P.O. Box 1810, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And I mean money, not semen.
Thanks for clarifying that.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
That was John Oliver did a thing about that. John Oliver, my fucking hero, dude, of content creation, did a thing about, he was making fun of mega churches, and he did this whole bit about like how they say like put in your seed money, and like you sow the seed of $3,000 and God will return to you and blah blah blah. And he's like, he started this joke mega church thing. He's like, send us your seed. And he's like, we had to shut it down really quickly because a lot of people were sending us cum. And now it's over.
That happened real fast. Yeah. Well, listen, Bill, it was good to talk to you. I mean, we got to cover a lot of ground there. We appreciate letting us kind of steer the conversation for a little bit of a while. And I know we gave you kind of a hard time about a few things, but we appreciate you coming up and being kind.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, thanks for the chat.
All right,
take care.
You too.
The person in
John
chat
Oliver
said they have
is
no
the
money
only late night host that I like.
Yeah, I just the way that he will go above and beyond for a bit and just run the fucking greatest victory laps. It's how I aspire to be as a content creator. It's great. To the person in the chat who said they have no money but plenty of semen, I feel like there's a way you can exchange them. You know what I'm saying? Like there's got to be like that line from Dodgeball. We can sell blood and semen, and someone's like, "Ugh," and like, what? Not mixed together. It's so good.
I literally forgot about that line.
It's such a good line.
Oh no.
We've still got looks like we've still got some lines open for some reason. We have one theist, one atheist, and one person who is unsure. So obviously we're gonna take the theist and then the unsure person. Yeah. So we'll take the theist and then the unsure person, and then we may take this atheist last. We'll see what happens unless another theist calls in. Does that sound good to you?
Sure, let's do it. I feel like I talked to
the person
recently.
saying you're sending me a couple of mason jars. Make sure they are packed with money, not cum. I can't be cash, not cum. Hashtag cash, not cum. I need you to make sure you're sending the right thing. Let's talk to
At least
Eddie.
make sure you seal it properly.
That it's in any case, make sure it's sealed. Oh man. Let's talk to Eddie, who wants to ask about the Bible, and if there's anything good we can possibly get out of it. And yeah, I think we covered that a little bit in this last call. Eddie, you're on the line with Forrest and Justin. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, and thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
sure thing. How you doing?
Good.
So
I'm
Eddie, what's
so hopefully.
So I was asking what's on your mind.
Well, I was listening to everybody talk. I got a different concept of the Bible and everything, and I've had it for a while, and I thought maybe you guys would be interested in it. Now, I believe in God, but I'm not a Christian, but I use the Bible.
What you just said, by the way, I just want to be very clear. What you just said to me was as useful as just saying I'm a Christian. I have a different version of the Bible, and I believe in God, but not necessarily the Bible. But not necessarily. I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in God, and I do use the Bible, but I have a different interpretation of the Bible, and I think you should hear it. All of that. You could have just said I'm a Christian, and it meant the exact same thing.
Okay, well, after I say what I say, I don't know. I don't know if you'll think that I'm a Christian. I was a fundamentalist. I was a Jesus name Christian, if you know what that is. We were so strict, it's unbelievable if you know anything about that at all. Just my church was saved.
That's true of a lot of churches. Yeah.
That's exactly what I meant,
every Christian I've ever talked to is the only real Christian.
That is exactly what I meant, is only my church was saved, and every Christian I talked to is a real Christian. That's what, when you said, I have this view of Christianity, but I'm not really a Christian, but I have my own take on the Bible, and I do believe in the Bible, but I use this, every bit of that. If you just said I'm a Christian, I would have assumed all of that. It's just like, I have my own interpretation of it, I have my own way of doing it right now, and I don't apply with this label, but I do use this scripture. Exactly the same intro to every Christian call I've ever taken.
This is going to be hard because I'm just a little bit smarter than a blade of grass. So
we shall see.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, yeah, I use the Bible, but like I said, I was a fundamentalist. I think there's stuff that first off, I believe in one entity, and so I believe that there's only one thing that means anything in the Bible. Since God is one, I believe there's only one thing that means anything at all. Everything else is myth, and we can use as storytelling, and some of it's good and most of it's awful. But there is something that I think is present within that is somebody that most people have overlooked for a very long time. And it's in the Bible. Now you would say probably, why would I care what the Bible says? Well, because what I'm going to talk about, it's only in the Bible. It's only in the Bible. And what I want to do is, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor that I can explain. But I'm going to do this really quick. I can relate the interactions and relationships between the three basic forms of conveying information. Now, most people don't know what that is, but if I gave you a hint, you could get a page of written music and see all three elements within that and create a song, which is not real, really. I don't know, how much does a song weigh?
Are you the person who called in a little while ago saying that you know God is real because you're a musician?
No, this is the first time I called. I can't believe I have this. No, that's okay. That's good. I play guitar though, but I suck.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Anyway,
that's fine. No, I had this person calling, and they use music as a metaphor, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't doing a repeat. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. This is. I think you guys will find this interesting. I wouldn't have called to waste your time. Okay, so oh geez, where was I at? Yeah, I want to use the relationship and the interactions between numbers, letters, and symbols to describe the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, and the one being, the three persons in the one being. I'm going to use scripture.
Can we?
I'm sorry.
I just No, you're fine. I am interrupting you, and I apologize for that. But this is a show where we have an audience.
I swear.
So here's the thing: if you explain this to me, is it going to take you more than 1 minute to do?
Well, I can do it pretty quick. Actually,
it would be reasonable if it was going to take more than 1 minute. I'm not asking that to tell you to hurry up. I'm asking because I would rather skip to the end of that and just say, give me the reason you believe in a God. Because if you give me this whole background and that's what we're talking about, I feel like we're going to get really in the weeds and away from the actual reason why you believe in a God, and not just here's how I think about God and here's how I rationalize God.
I think we can cut through it pretty quick. Being. Let me, Eddie, do you think that Jesus is God?
No. For this metaphor, it doesn't matter who it is. What we need is a number. I
assume the metaphor was for the Trinity, was it not?
Yes, it is. Also, it can
you don't
be
believe in the Trinity.
For the modalist view. It can be used for the modalist view. You don't believe in the Trinity. Too.
You don't believe. You said Jesus isn't God. It's irrelevant.
No, yeah. Well, what I believe.
If you don't believe that Jesus is God, if you don't believe that Jesus is God, then it doesn't matter if you believe in the Trinity or modalism or monarchism. It doesn't matter what you believe in. None of this is what you actually believe. You're like playing devil's advocate for the Christians who do believe in the Trinity. Why?
Well, see, the thing is, you could use anybody. See, the Trinity was pounded into people, don't you think? You know better than I do. I think it didn't conform till around the 3rd or 4th century.
The reason why the Trinity formed is because the Bible makes it clear that Jesus is God, and they had to wrestle with the fact that Jesus is God, but also Yahweh is God, and there's only one God. And so they had to bend themselves in the pretzels and they came up with the idea of the Trinity. But the Trinity is logically absurd. Modalism is equally absurd, because if modalism is true, that means Jesus is schizophrenic and he's praying to himself in all of those prayers to God. It's ridiculous.
The Trinity is also contradicted by the scripture itself, because Jesus makes a clear distinction between himself and God in several occasions. Most importantly, when he's talking about the end times, and he says, I don't know, but God does. That was a big one for me.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't get past the crucifixion. The 6 wounds of Jesus is just crazy. No, this is different.
I thought it was 7.
I don't need the. Well, I don't know
It's
about
not relevant.
7.
Let's
let's
not get distracted on that. Yeah, let's not worry about that.
Okay. Right. Hands and feet are counted as 1, I thought. Anyways, let's see. Where were we? Yeah, no, okay. I'll have to do this quick, because it doesn't matter who everything is. When I was a Roman Catholic, and I got sucked into the Jesus name, the apostolic faith. They gave me the modalist view, and how they teach you is they give you Deuteronomy 6:4, John 1:1, and then Matthew 3:16, the baptism.
Was it UPCI?
It's apostolic. It's the Mexican derivative. It's Mexican.
Almost the same as the UPCI. You guys believe in the oneness doctrine.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I'm familiar with I'm familiar. Yeah, you don't have to explain the whole thing. So this, well, I guess we're trying to fast forward. What's the analogy?
Okay, so the Father is 1, so we give him the number 1, and I use the Phoenician. The Phoenician 1 is about is a straight vertical line. It's the most oldest and universal form of a number 1 you'll find. They were around 1500 to 300 BCE. They're ancestors of the Greeks and Hebrews, I believe. I might be mistaken about that. But it's a straight vertical line. It's a 1. Now, that represents the Father. The Son, we gave the letter I. The letter I represents the Son. It looks like the 1, and it becomes a word when used as a singular first-person pronoun. And Jesus is the Word of God. Now, the Holy Spirit, if you look at the Holy Spirit, he appears twice as a symbol. Once as a dove, once as tongues of fire. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have a name. And he has titles, and he instructs and guides. So the vertical bar symbol is given to the Holy Spirit.
You say the Father has no name?
Yahweh. The Holy Spirit doesn't have a name. It has titles: the Comforter, the Spirit of Truth, that kind of. It doesn't have a name like Jesus or Yahweh or Jehovah, that kind of thing.
Or like,
and he doesn't speak.
Ruach HaKodesh, maybe.
The Spirit of God, yeah, okay, I'll go with that, but you're getting really deep
that
there.
Means Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit in the Bible is just the Holy Spirit, or Spirit of God. That's what I've noticed. So you got those 3 things right there: numbers, letters, and symbols. Those are the 3 things that are...
Yeah, you're describing the heresy of partialism.
No,
you want to know why partialism is a heresy?
I know why partialism is a heresy. You can't use this because the number 1, I haven't finished, and I'm sorry, Justin, it takes me a long time because I'm a moron. The number 1 is 100% a number. The letter I is 100% a letter. The vertical bar symbol is 100% a symbol. And when you connect them at the poles, they make one straight vertical line. All 3 are present. You can turn it over. It's unchanged. You can add the same form to it. It doesn't change.
Can I just point out the fact that this analogy only works in English as well? Because in Spanish it would be yo, not I.
Also, Phoenicians didn't have numbers the way you're referring to them. That's not how
they had a straight vertical line, and they used a straight... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There's a little... Go ahead.
So it is just an analogy. It is just an analogy, a way of thinking about the whole point here, it seems, is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are indeed the same person, because these things all line up as these 3 symbols all line up.
Right. Okay, now that's in the beginning of the first of the New Testament. There's more reasons for that to give I to this whole thing. The 7 I ams in the Gospel of John are present. If you go to Revelation now, if we go to Revelation 22, verse 13.
What I'm trying to tell you is the Phoenician one isn't a single line. I don't know who told you that.
I looked it up. It's a single, straight vertical line, and they used them all the way up to 9 in threes, all the way in threes. You're looking at the squiggly one. It kind of looks like an S.
No,
that's the one you're looking at.
No, I'm not. Nope.
Okay, the one I'm using is the one that
how is this different than Trinitarianism? How is this taught different? How is this different than Trinitarianism?
Well, it's 100%. The number 1 is 100% a number. It's not a partial number. It's 100%
right, no,
a number.
I get that. I get the point. I get the point. The number 1 and the letter I. All these things are 100% what they are, and they are also all the same symbol. And so you're saying the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are each 100% what they are, and also the same concept. And I'm trying to figure out how that's different than Trinitarianism.
That is Trinitarianism.
No, it's not.
They are the same.
Because
the letter I,
in the Trinity, there's a distinction between all 3 persons of the Trinity. The thing you described has no distinction.
Oh, yes, it is. One's a number.
Nope.
The other one is a letter, and the other one's a
that's
symbol.
That's not a distinction. Nope, that's not a distinction. That's a title.
I would disagree with that.
There's no distinction. It's just what you're calling it. That's it. The only distinction is the title, but in the Trinity, there's an actual distinction. The Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit are not the same entity, and they have different characteristics.
Right. So when Jesus
also, didn't you say you were not a Trinitarian?
So this is not analogous. Yeah, he did say that.
If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. If he's the letter I,
he also said that the Father is greater
1.
than I am, so that doesn't work.
Okay, so Revelation 22 takes care of the subordinationalism.
Yeah, we'll
Jesus is speaking here. Jesus,
endless pivots. You're not a Christian. I don't know why you keep referencing the Bible.
Also,
okay, well,
I just you're describing Trinitarianism, but didn't you say earlier that you're not a Trinitarian, and now you're defending Trinitarianism?
Yeah, because I think the Trinity, this is a good way of looking at it. You guys are right in front of your face right now.
No, it's a terrible way of looking at it because you don't actually
symbols.
understand the problem that you're doing. You're taking one symbol, which you're not even doing it right. You're taking one symbol and you're saying, here's 3 different functions of the same symbol, and that's the same thing as the Trinity, but the 3 members of the Trinity don't just have different functions or different titles. They have different actual fucking properties.
They're distinct and they have unique roles.
They are distinct, and the thing that you described isn't distinct. It's all one thing. You're just giving it 3 different roles.
Right. So, like,
I can give it a 4th. I can do a 4th role. Is it a quadraty now? If I do the same hash mark and I give it an additional role, do I get a quadraty instead of a trinity? I can give it 5.
If you have,
is that a quintity?
If you have them separate,
how many different titles can I give it before we have to collapse it into some sort of like modalism again?
If you separate them, you can make a distinguish. The vertical bar symbol is slightly longer and thinner.
Is it used as a number and a letter at the same time?
It can be.
Nope. Try again. When I make a single hash mark in a sentence, is it being used as a number or a letter?
I'm not sure about that, Justin.
Well, when you make that hash mark, it's only one. It's going to be used as either a letter or either a number or either whatever your 3rd option is. You're not going to read it as all 3. Hold on, Eddie. You're not going to read it as all 3 at once. You've got to pick one, which means your analogy is still fucking modalism.
Well, the vertical bar changes depending on the context and its usage.
That's modalism.
Okay, the Holy Spirit changes. It was like a dove, and it was like tongues of fire.
That's modalism.
That's the whole thing about that.
That's modalism. You've described modalism.
And also,
congratulations, you still don't believe in the Trinity.
Okay, hold on. All right,
And again, I can't stress enough. A minute ago, Justin asked you, "Do you believe that Jesus is God?" And you said no. And then also we asked if you're a Trinitarian, and you said no. And so, like, what are we even doing here? Also, if I may bitch for just a moment, I fucking asked you at the beginning of this. I was like, "Can you just tell us what you believe and why?" Because I feel like if we get into this analogy, we're just going to be bogged down arguing about the semantics of the analogy, and that's exactly what we're doing now. We're arguing about whether or not a 1 and an I can be used the same way. And I still don't know what God you believe in or why you believe in it. So, like, what are we doing here?
Well, I was just trying to get I wanted to get to Revelation 13, but you guys don't want to do that one.
What's so special about Revelation 13? What does it tell you that Mark 13:32 doesn't?
Jesus is saying all three things at once in Revelation. It's the last book. He's the Alpha and the Omega. Those are letters. He's the first and last. Those correlate with numbers. He's the beginning and the end. That is symbolism, as like a starting line and finishing line.
Literally,
in a race.
And he's the light and the dark, and he's the narrow and he's the wide. No one cares. We can give him as many titles as you want. It's never going to be a Trinity.
Literally, all of those things are symbols. Letters and numbers are symbols.
Right, but what I'm saying is all the books in the world are written with numbers, letters, and symbols. That's how we convey information. But only the Trinity is expressed like that. That's all I'm saying. It's a metaphor. That's all I'm saying.
Only the Trinity is expressed. Only the Trinity is expressed. The Trinity is expressed like that. There are lots of things out there that are only expressed the way that they are expressed. That doesn't tell me whether or not they're true.
You know, during Jesus' time, you know what the Roman numeral for the number 1 was?
It's an I.
Oh no! Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
because it's a vertical fucking hash mark.
Right. I appreciate it.
But just to be clear, just to be clear, Eddie, it wasn't an English I. They weren't like, we should do? We should make a number that looks a lot like a letter. That was just the symbol for the number.
Oh, I know. I just got to get off there. You guys are cooking the shit out of me. I'm like,
you're not saying anything.
My fingernails are crustivating. But
you're not saying anything. I don't know what you're trying to teach us here. You haven't said anything. What is this?
No, he's just up here being a clown.
20 fucking minutes of us trying to like get you to say a thing and just on and on and on. Inconsistent with yourself, inconsistent with us, inconsistent. And the whole point is some symbols look the same. So you know what about a baby God then? What? What?
Fuck, I guess I'll see you in church Sunday.
The fucking shit, dude. You know what, though? The letter V and the Roman numeral for 5 and the peace sign all look the same. Maybe that means fucking we should bring peace to the Middle East is what it means. Maybe that's what, hey, Jesus and science and religion together. What the fuck was that? I felt like I was on that call for an hour.
With the right refinement, you can run your diesel engine on canola oil, olive oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil. Obviously, the quadrity is true.
Yes. Oh, my glob, dude. Let's talk to Layla, pronoun she, her, who says that she is unsure about whether she is a theist or an atheist. And let's talk about the labels of atheism and agnosticism. Layla, please be more interesting than Eddie. Please.
Oh my God,
you're on the line.
It wouldn't take much. Hi, thanks for having me. That was so painful. And I almost fell asleep waiting to talk to you.
Thank you. I was talking and almost fell asleep.
Yeah. My name is Lala, and
Lala, pardon me.
You can dodge wrenches, you can dodge balls.
Now we're talking.
So honestly, I'm going to tell you why I called. I go on TikTok quite a bit, another platform, and go on the live panels and just talk shit with people. And there's this
Satan's
guy
playground
that follows you. And he comes up there all the time. His name's Angry Atheist. And he bombards us with talking about you, playing your videos, obsessed. And tonight he was telling us we needed to call you. He won't stop. It's a daily thing. And so finally I relented and said, I'll call. Admittedly, I'm hanging out with a group of Christians. I have openly said I'm agnostic. And so I took the dare and I called. But then before Eddie came on, I was listening to what you were saying. I found it very interesting.
Right on. So what did you want to, what were you challenged to call about? Like, what's the thing that you wanted to bring to us? Because I have what it says here on the call screen, but
he was
I worry that
challenging
maybe
the people that are like, he was challenging the people that are like 10 toes down Christian. I would say
I actually know the Angry Atheist.
Yeah.
I'm looking them up right now.
He's hilarious, but it's constant, and he's constantly spewing like the most inappropriate things at people, and at some point it just feels like it's
that's the
badgering.
one.
But but as far as for me personally, I mean, I grew up with an atheist father and a searching mom that tried pretty much every religion and landed on Mormonism. So I'm kind of always been just confused on the whole subject. And it was interesting to hear what you guys were saying, and I subscribed to kind of learn a little bit more.
I only see one, the Angry Atheist, and it's a lady with short hair. Is that who I'm supposed to be looking for?
No.
He's his profile picture is a meme of an overweight guy.
Okay, I'll keep looking. I'm sure
it's a lot. He needs to stop. I get his message, but his delivery of it is probably not something you would necessarily support or endorse.
Greg? He gets banned a lot. I'll send you his profile after the stream. I know who he is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I know which one it is. Cool. Yeah.
Well, he did introduce me to, so I guess my question when asked by the caller was, why are you an atheist?
Yeah.
Not knowing you or knowing your history, I apologize to your audience. What kind of led you to that decision, that black and white decision?
So can I give you a pedantic answer?
Yes.
So it says, why are you an atheist as opposed to an agnostic, which is what I have here on the call screen. And what you just described as a black and white answer as well is really, it's important. So what I think is important to point out is that when we're talking about theism versus atheism, we are talking about the position of whether or not you believe in a God. When we talk about Gnosticism or agnosticism, we are talking about a stance on knowledge. And so you can draw a little Punnett square, like a genetics thing here. You can draw a square like this, beep, bop, boom, bam, and do that. And I have theist or atheist, and I have Gnostic or I'm going to make a AG or agnostic like that, right? And now I can say I can be a Gnostic theist, meaning that I believe that there is a God and I know it. That looks awful. So I can be a Gnostic theist. I do believe in a God and I know that. Or I can be a Gnostic atheist. There is no God and I know that. Or I can be an agnostic theist. I do believe in a God, but I'm not sure. Or I can be an agnostic atheist. I don't believe in a God, but I'm waiting for proof. I'm waiting for evidence. If you have any of these three positions, Gnostic, anything, or agnostic theist, pardon me, I drew the box wrong, then you have to have evidence. You need a reason to believe that. So if I say, I know for sure there is a God, I know for sure there isn't a God, or I think there is a God, I'm making an affirmative statement. I need evidence for that. To be an agnostic atheist is to say, I don't have any reason to believe in a God, and I'm waiting for that reason. And until then, I'm not going to believe that thing, which is the exact same position that you have about most everything you don't believe in at this moment. If someone were to come and prove to you the Easter Bunny is real, you would believe in the fucking Easter Bunny. But as right now, you're not saying it's not possible that there isn't some giant fucking rabbit somewhere in the universe. You're just saying, I don't believe this thing is real, and I have no reason to really think about it, so I'm not gonna. You're an agnostic Easter bunnyist, a Easter bunnyist. That's all. So you asked me why I take this position. I'm not taking a black and white position. I'm not saying I know for sure there is no God. I've checked under every rock in the entire universe to look for a God. I've never found one. Therefore, I'm telling you scientifically for sure, no God exists. I can tell you certain gods definitely don't exist. Logically inconsistent ones, like the Christian God, I can say pretty sure that thing doesn't make any sense. But just any God ever, I have no way to test that. What I'm saying is I have no good reason to believe that. I have no evidence for such a thing. I have no use for such a thing. I'm not going to spend my time wasting thinking about such a thing. It's just not relevant, interesting, important, or reasonable to me. So it has no bearing on my life, and I have no opinion other than I don't fucking care about it. And I wish I could leave it at that, but goddamn Christians keep telling me about it every fucking day. That's my answer to you.
Get it. I get it. And is that how you were raised?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I was raised, me personally, I was raised in a really fucking weird, stupid way. My family was pagan. Well, at least my mom was. My mom was pagan. She believed in like old world East European magic and shit. And so I was raised to believe in ghosts and spirits and fairies and demons and witches and angels, and no real God concept from that. But then also I went to Sunday school at the Unitarian Church and the Hebrew Temple because we were very poor and those places were helpful. And so I got a God concept from them. And then we also were surrounded by a lot of other religions because my family really cared about multiculturalism. And also we were very poor, so we would go to those places for food. So I spent a lot of time at the Hindu Temple. Very little bit of time at the mosque, but mainly the Hindu Temple. I've hung out there quite a bit and learned a lot about that, or just the vibes of that. I couldn't recite any details about Hinduism. The vibes and the people were really cool. And then my grandma, also very much East European magic, but also was like she called herself a Buddhist, but she was real half-assed about it. And she was raised Lutheran. So she definitely had a God concept that she impressed upon us a lot, but it wasn't like an authoritative one. And then my dad was Catholic. Tell me how the fuck that happened, right? And so my dad was all about like the tri-omni God that was watching over you while you sleep and has said prayers every night and all that shit. But I didn't take him seriously at all. But I got the vibes. I got the idea. And so I was raised literally like casting spells and believing in multiple gods and demons and shit and communing with my ancestors through meditation and ritual and prayer and like worshiping fire in a weird way and wearing a bunch of like symbols and rings and necklaces and shit that I literally believed brought me good luck and had a physical effect on me, and drawing pentagrams and burning certain herbs to give me, the confidence that I needed for whatever great adventure. I did all of I was extremely pagan.
You were bought into all of it.
Yeah, dude, I still have my Book of Shadows in the next room where I wrote down spells and like how to read palms and crystal balls and whatnot. And then I started applying the same laws of logic and morality to that I did to literally everything else, and it fell apart very quickly. And it was awesome.
Okay. Makes sense. Huh.
I think the question that needs to be answered is, should we believe in things that don't have evidence for them? And I think the answer to that is no, I don't think we should. Right now, I understand that most people disagree. They say, well, I have faith in God even though there's no evidence. But I think the question is like, why? Why should we have faith in something that we don't have evidence for? What does it actually do for us? I don't think it really does anything for us.
Yeah, I would say I've always struggled with this. I look at it more as, because I am very logical and educated, so I tend to look at it more as feeling than as belief. And I know that I'd get in trouble with all the Christians that I hang out with. When I go to church with somebody, and it feels really great. I enjoy the music, I enjoy the environment, I enjoy the community, I enjoy the message. But I have a really hard time with this concept of taking a leap of faith. I remember when my mom became Mormon and the missionaries tried to sit down with me, and I said, well, wait. You want me to believe in this book when I'm already having a hard time believing in this book? Now you got a whole nother book I got to follow. So
and all the books have their own problems.
Right. So it's really confusing for me. I do, I'll give you an example. I recently lost my dog. He had 12 years, my soul dog.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Call it. Thank you. And he was my everything. And so it's not like, I suddenly woke up and found religion, but there's a part of me that wants to believe, I don't know how you describe this, that he crossed a rainbow bridge, and he's in some special place, and I'll get to see him again someday, so I can sleep, so I can stop obsessing about him, so I can stop feeling guilty about, not doing more to try to save a dog with cancer that had his leg amputated and went through chemo and, all the things you would do to try to save the pet that you love. But at the end of the day, you have to say goodbye. And how do you get through those things? So I guess selfishly, I put feeling into it rather than belief, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I feel like your feelings might be leading you to a belief, right? Like a belief, I don't know if it's something necessarily that's distinct from feeling. Like you can feel like something is true, and then I guess we would just say that you believe that it's true, right? That being said, there's a lot of things I think we've all had those moments
where you're going on a beautiful walk. It's like dusk, and the wind blows just a certain way, and a bunch of birds fly over, and just something happens, and you're like, wow, that felt really unworldly. It felt very mystical. It felt very spiritual. I feel like it's more that, like it's not like I don't know anything about paganism or any of these other religions, but just in those moments you feel like there's some magic. And I know there's nothing to describe what that is. I can't say that I believe it. I can't prove it, but it's more of a feeling. I think that kind of
what you are describing sounds an awful lot like cognitive dissonance. It sounds an awful lot like you being in an uncomfortable mental and emotional state and using, for lack of a better word, magical thinking to fill in the blanks. And you talk about this dog, and you're like, surely, absolutely, there was more you could have done for your dog. But was it a reasonable thing to? There's more things. My dad and my grandma are both dead, right? I could have done more for them. Was it reasonable for me to do anything more for them? Did I know of things I could have done more for them? There's always something you could have done. Always. There's always that. And that's, I like to say, when you sit and you think about that, you're just shoulding all over yourself, right? I should have, and I should have, and I should have. Right. But that's the thing. It's really uncomfortable to think about that. It's really uncomfortable to think about that. And more importantly, it's not productive to think about that. It's not reasonable for you to have done everything you possibly could have done. It would have made your life worse. It wouldn't have resulted in the dog living forever anyway. So, like, at the end of the day, you did what you did, which was enough for you and enough for the dog, and the same outcome was inevitable, and life goes on. And so you rationalize this by coming up with a semi-magical, what you say, you're feeling it rather than really believing it, just something that sates that in your brain and makes you stop attacking yourself. Everybody does shit like that. The question is, if you're asking like big, if you're talking about big, serious questions about like the order of the universe, though, no, come on. You can't do that. I've lost pets. I've lost family members. I've lost loved ones. I've lost all sorts of people in my life, friends and all sorts of things. And I can rationalize in similar ways and say, you know what? The last conversation I had with my dad wasn't what I fucking wanted, and that sucks. But the one that I had a few times before that was okay. And my overall memories of him are pretty good. And the last several months of my time with him sucked ass, but I can still pick good memories. Is that really rational? Could I have done more for him when he was alive? Could I have tried to save him in some other way? Could I have done blah, blah, blah? Yes, I can should all over myself all day long. None of it's going to help. None of it would have really changed that much in the end. He'd still be fucking dead, probably. So I'm just going to say I have a pretty good vibe, and I can stick on that vibe and be happy with that vibe and move on with my life. If, however, I was sitting here wondering whether or not my dad is on a cloud watching me, That's a very different question. And while it would be pleasant to think about that unless I'm pooping or masturbating, I would like to just not deal with that shit, because honestly, there's no reason to think about that. It's only going to cause me more grief to tear it open and think about all this shit. Just no, I don't think that. I don't really have a reason to believe that. I'm going to treat that very differently than any kind of emotional thing. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I mean, that's where I struggle with this, is that people look at things like the Bible as fact, that they take it literally, that they read the stories in it, and they can justify that there was an ark with 2 and 2 animals, that they can justify, everybody came from Adam and Eve. That is way beyond my comprehension to see that as fact without proof. So that I'm on board with everything you guys are saying. Like, that's why would you think this is literal? But then there's that other side, like I said, where it's like fact versus feeling. And for me, I guess I'm openly saying I'm driven by the feeling piece, where it's sort of like, and I've lost my mom, I've lost my brother, I lost my husband, I lost all these people. And at some point you're like, do I get to see them again? I hope so. So I feel like it's, you just kind of try to hold on to something or grasp at something when you just don't have anything else. And what you're describing is probably reality, but it also is sort of sad.
What I'm describing,
so it's like,
yeah. What I'm describing is just that it is better to have an uncomfortable truth than a happy fantasy. And when if you're just talking about like, these are the things that I like to think about to make me less grief, to lighten the load of grief. Okay, who's going to shame you for that, right? But if you're talking about where did the universe come from? Where do I go after I die? Does the question of going somewhere after I die make any sense in the first place? What's outside of space and time? Does that question make any sense in the first place? Who's watching me while I have sex? Are there rules here? Like, who's keeping track of my deeds? Like, these are much bigger questions than just, I'm in an emotional wreck right now and I need something to make sense. Like that. So for me, I would rather live in a world where I would rather live a life of uncomfortable truth than very comforting fantasies and lies. And at some level, we are all somewhat self-deceptive about some things. We all rationalize things. We all experience cognitive dissonance. We all probably have some inconsistent ideas and beliefs that don't really line up together. We could all be better people. Like there's a million things you can claim about humans in general and about ourselves. And if we really, really investigate ourselves, we'll find lots of things. And I think that a great life is one led where you dig into that shit. But at the end of the day, the big picture here is, if you're talking about whether or not there is anything supernatural, number one, what the fuck is that? And number two, would you use the same kind of thinking you're using for that for literally anything else ever? And if the answer is no, then how do you justify that? I can't. And so I don't. And I don't think you should either.
What is your answer to this question? I'm sure you get it a lot. Why are there so many millions and millions and millions and zillions of people throughout history that all believe in the Bible? Like, I'm curious, what's your pedantic answer to that?
They haven't read it.
Also, genocide is that Justin is correct. The reason why most people believe in the Bible today, I would say, is because they've never fucking read the thing. And they was just taught to them by their parents. But like, big picture for me is that what we know for sure happened is that the Christian church, or Christian people at least, fucking steamrolled their way across the world, forced people to convert on pain of torture and murder, mutilated people, raped people, indoctrinated people, stole people, did just the most heinous, hideous things, all to force their religion across the world. And then once it was there, and once it was just like kind of established as a given, then they started passing it down generationally. And the same people that were abused as children by being taught that they are inherently evil and sinful and wicked and deserve punishment and deserve to be tortured forever, they were abused by being taught these evil things, and also being taught that these evil things were good. Then, because of their belief in these things being good, abused their own children and taught them these same things, and that these things were good. And you have this cycle, this long-standing chain of abuse, that is the result of a long chain of genocide, that is the result of people believing in, this sky monster that explained the world better than science did at the time, because at least it was an answer that filled in a lot of the cultural gaps that it needed to. And now you've got a world full of people who have been taught this really hideous, abusive idea and don't read the book that it comes from. And if they did, they probably wouldn't believe it anymore. The best way to make an atheist is to have them read the Bible. I don't know, Justin, do you think there's anything else to that?
Honestly,
I'm sorry, what?
Seems as no. I was just asking if I just talked for a long time. I was just asking if you had anything else you wanted to throw in.
I agree with the genocide part. As far as, I think a lot of them read it. I think they just believe it, and that's what's confusing. I do think a lot of them do read it. That's not my
experience. I haven't met a single Christian.
I think the indoctrination is a big part of it. I think it's generational too. I mean, most Christians that I know grew up in it.
Yeah. The reason why they were a Christian and not a Muslim is because they were born in America and not Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the teachings are no less hideous. It's just cultural that you think they're not hideous. It's why, I've talked a lot about, the phrase Jesus loves you. The only reason why people say Jesus loves you is because most of the time they think they're being nice. They hear that and think that it is a very kind, loving, welcoming, warm thing to say. They don't hear it the way I hear it, which is a fucking curse. It's a horrible, cruel thing to say to someone. But they don't hear it that way because they're bought into the idea. Unless they're being shitty on purpose, because I get a lot of people who are like, well, Jesus loves you. And they say it with a little venom in there. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think Justin's absolutely right. I think that people have read parts of the Bible. They may have read the Sermon on the Mount. They may have read Genesis or some of Genesis. They may have read, a bit of Mark or Matthew in Sunday school because those are kind of more tame versions of Jesus. They might have read some of Revelation in church when they were told that, we have to protect Israel, or we something about gay people, whatever. But to actually go through and read not even the whole thing, just a good chunk of it, and critically analyze it, you'd be an atheist real quick, especially the Old Testament.
Do you think that the societal controls that it tries to place on people, or to try to push people down a path of doing good and being good, help society on some level?
Absolutely.
I don't. What do you mean by being good? Because the Bible version of being good,
well, thou shalt not
xenophobia, oppressing women.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
choose, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
you asked, is the societal pressure to be good, is that helpful? Absolutely. That's the point of society. That's the point of education. But the Bible doesn't give you that. The Bible is not the good book. And using the Bible for societal indoctrination is just a vehicle for social control. It's a domestication tool for humans.
Well, they like to point to the thou shall not do these things.
Right, which doesn't really help anybody. I mean, think about those 10 commandments. The first 4 are just God stroking himself off and saying how you just totally just all about him and keeping his arbitrary ass rules. Then you get, honor your father and mother. Well, what if they're assholes? What if they're abusive? What if they abandon you? What if they were a fucking victim of incest? What if that's not universal? That's not really that helpful. And then you get thou shalt not murder and thou shalt not lie. And I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to remember. I don't think steal is in there. But I'm quite good with not murdering and not lying. Thank you very much. You get thou shalt not covet, which, okay, it's good not to be greedy and whatnot and covetous, but they also happen to throw in wife as the same level of property as a donkey and a cow. So maybe that's not the best thing in the world. You know what isn't in the 10 Commandments? Nothing about rape, nothing about slavery, Nothing about genocide, nothing about war, nothing about feeding the hungry, nothing about, advancing science, nothing about taking care of people, none of that. It's just a bunch of shit about God's ego and then some really fucking obvious rules that I find it offensive to say that we had to wait until some crusty old fuck climbed up a mountain and carved them on a tablet for us to figure those out. And then some really heinous shit that isn't really universal. So, like, what's the point,
but it's
dude?
weird,
we can get these
but don't you kind of weirdly think that there are some unusual people in the world that don't do some of those things just because it's in the Bible and not because they have free thought?
Yeah, and that means that they're not good people. They're just bad people on a leash. And you could swap the Bible out with any other code and tell them this is the code, and those people who have very low moral development would follow it for the exact same reason. You still don't need the Bible, or any religion for that matter.
Right. That's a very good point. Yeah, I don't know. That's okay. I don't think I have any other burning questions. Any questions?
Thou shalt not steal is in there. I knew it. I felt like I was an idiot.
I thought it was too.
It was. And thou shalt not commit adultery is in there. Fuck you. There's polyamorous people are out there, and people can do whatever they want as long as it's consensual. I guess that doesn't count as adultery if it's consensual. But, like, who knows? I don't know what people are into. I'm not here to kink shit. The Bible.
Isn't the pastor of the church usually the one doing that? So
exactly. Anyway, that's everything I've got. Justin, do you have anything else you wanted to add to this? Because I've been kind of rambling this whole time.
No, I don't think so.
I still haven't decided what I am based on this. I don't know if I'm agnostic or sounds like I might not be.
Do you believe in a God?
I usually say I do, but I don't even know if that's true. I usually say I believe in God, but not organized religion.
Do you have any good reason to believe in a God?
Again, I don't have any reason to. It's a I want versus I know.
Why do you want there to be a God?
To believe.
Why do you want there to be a God?
I think again it goes back to this. It's probably more driven by feeling, like this idea that I'm not talking about like what we read in see in the Bible and just this like the man with the long beard and the whole thing.
I'm asking
like
about your
creator.
Feelings. Why do you want such a thing to exist?
I think it's probably more just because it's something I can wrap my head around. But
you can wrap your head around
evolution.
an interdimensional. You can wrap your head around an extra-dimensional being that whips up the whole universe.
There's no point in trying to answer the question. There's no way I can answer it that would not.
It sounds illogical. It sounds like the answer is it's familiar. It's something you've been raised around and you've been raised to say.
For sure. I mean, I had to go to catechism. I was Roman Catholic as a child. Like, it feels very familiar. But it is, there is every fiber of my being fighting the logic of it.
Because there is no logic to it.
For sure.
Nor is there any morality to it. Because if there is a God, like the kind you talk about in Catholicism, whatever
earlier,
else.
Is there anything else in life that you believe that you can't explain? And I feel like astrology, I don't believe in it, but I feel like there's something about it. It's kind of funny. It's kind of fun to read a horoscope and say, oh, this person's so like that. No logic to it. You know, it's purely entertainment.
That horoscope, the whole reason those horoscopes work is because they're so fucking vague they can apply to literally anybody at any time. And the thing to ask about astrology is, does it
just kind of have fun with? And whereas this is something like when you talk about creation, I don't know. I don't have a good answer. And so I've always just said agnostic, because if somebody really presses me, somebody who hasn't read the Bible from cover to cover, and from what I know of it, feels very illogical, I just say, I don't know. I think I'm agnostic.
It sounds to me like you may be an atheist, but like, again, like we talked about at the beginning, you'd be an agnostic atheist. I don't believe there is such thing as a God, but I am not making any strong claims about it, and I'm willing to be proven wrong. That's the position that pretty much everybody on this entire channel has. The thing is, if there is a God, then that God has a whole hell of a lot to answer for. That God would need to beg your forgiveness before you would even consider worshiping it, because that God is in control of this fucking place. And anything that is all powerful and all knowing, and what it certainly isn't a good person if it is real. This is what it's running.
Well, and I think that's
So,
one of my reasons why I rejected it. It's like when people die that you love, you're like, really, God? Like, there's this wonderful thing out there that keeps doing these horrible things. And like you said, war, genocide, rape, like all of these other things. And then they want to point that back to man. And it's like, but he created this. So
1,000 people starve to death every single hour,
perfect.
dude. Like,
he created
this God.
the most perfect companion to man, dogs, but he gives them a fraction of our lifetime? Doesn't sound perfect.
Well, it just sounds like a bunch of shit, dude. So, like, it sounds to me like you were raised with this illogical and irrational belief that is comforting to you, because it reminds you mentally of a simpler time when the answer to all your hard questions were answered just like that. When you could, as the Bible said, believe like a child because you were a fucking child. And now you're an adult and you have really big, difficult concepts and questions and issues and problems and feelings and events and everything else. You are living a real life. And these simple answers don't fucking cut it. But if you pretend like they do, then it feels really chill, because that's the thing about nostalgia. You don't actually fucking want to be a child again. You don't want to have this, drink and fruit and cereal and watch this TV show and all these things. You want to feel the way you did when those things were happening. That's what nostalgia is all about. And you are having nostalgia for a simpler way of thinking. You're believing in this God out of convenience and out of comfort, because it's a lot easier and more comfortable and more familiar than dealing with the fact that life is fucking random and weird and nobody's controlling anything and we're all going to die and it just goes dark and nobody cares about anything. And in the end, nothing matters and everything fucking sucks and life is just whatever life is and you have to do your best to make something out of it. And if you don't, nobody will. And it's just all that shit's scary. And so you just are more comfortable with this God stuff. And what I'm telling you is that God stuff has a lot more baggage than I think you're acknowledging when you do that. And it's not useful and it's not helpful. And it is just a fucking, it's what you do when you're afraid of the dark and you're afraid to die. It's just a story to help you get through life. And I think your life, I can tell you my experience, my life is better spent dealing with harsh reality that allows me to take charge of my own trajectory and help more people than it ever could possibly be just writing off the hard questions and assuming that there's some fucking monster in the sky that's watching over me and doing whatever he wants with whatever tally he has of my deeds. It's not good enough for me. And I don't know why it's good enough for anybody. And I don't think it should be good enough for you, Lala. I think you're better than that.
No, but I think it's probably relatable for a lot of your audience. I think it's probably a pretty common.
Oh yeah, lots of people have been there,
especially in this day and age. Yeah,
lots
where
of
people
people
are kind
have been
of
there.
not necessarily going to church and following church, but they're still sort of searching. I think it's like you said, it's familiar. Every day I'm engaged to an Italian man from Italy who was raised Roman Catholic, and every day we say grace before we eat and thank God. That is his ritual. That is his tradition. And there is something very familiar, but also very calming in taking time to say thank you for all the blessings in your life, all the good things in your life, all the positive things in your life. Doesn't necessarily mean that God did them, but you're in a safe place. You don't live in a war. You don't live in a third world country. You have a house, a roof over your head. I think it's okay to feel grateful.
Yes, you don't need a God to do that. I show gratitude every single day. I constantly, my wife and I talk about how happy we are, how lucky we are, how safe we are, how grateful we are just for all these things. But when you put it into this term of gratitude, you have to ask, who are you grateful to? And for me, it's luck. More than anything, it's luck. Because even the things that I worked really hard for and I'm very proud of, I was lucky enough to be born in a situation to, achieve those things. and to be born in this country, to be born with the skin color that I have, to be born the gender that I am, to be born the sexuality that I am. Like, these things were purely fucking luck that afforded me a tremendous amount of opportunities. And even, like I said, even the things that I did work really fucking hard for, if I was born in Palestine or fucking Sudan or fucking Yemen or I wouldn't have had those opportunities in the first place, no matter how hard I worked. So, like, I think it's totally reasonable just to say, I'm really fucking grateful for what I have. I'm really fucking grateful for what I am. I'm really fucking grateful for the work that I've done. I'm really fucking proud of the life that I've built. Period. I don't need a God for that. I can be thankful for my community. I can be thankful for my country. I can be thankful for my friends. I can be thankful for the books that I've read and the people that wrote them. I don't need to go all the way to a God, which requires a lapse in morality. For me to thank a God for these things requires me to have that asterisk on the end. Thank you so much, God, for the roof over my head and the food that I have to eat. And at the same time, you didn't give that to a child in Gaza, right? Like that.
Right.
I can't be thankful for that. What the fuck am I thanking somebody for while they're abusing somebody else? They were kind to me. Why would I thank that person? I should hate that person. How dare you fucking treat 10,000 children this way? Every day, 10,000 children starve to death in this world. How fucking dare you do that and then give me more comfort and luxury? I could lose 90% of everything I have and still be infinitely more comfortable than so many people in this world. How fucking dare you give me more money and more luxury and more comfort when this is what's going on all the rest of the world? Like, no, I can't imagine being thankful to a God for that. I'm very thankful for my luck, and I'm very thankful for my family. I'm very thankful for my hard work. Would never be thankful for a God.
I was just going to say that because I usually don't say thank God. I usually say I'm thankful for, and I usually talk about the people in my life and the things that I have, and all the being born in this country, everything you just said. And I don't necessarily point to God in that conversation. So I hear you wholeheartedly. It's definitely something that I think a lot of us struggle with, that haven't come to the point that you have, where it is a very black and white issue. But this has been a really enlightening conversation, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely. Feel free to call back anytime. Happy to talk to you. Justin, you have anything for us where we sign off? I've kind of dominated this call, so I don't know if I don't want to just take it from you.
That's fine. The thankfulness is kind of an interesting thing, because like, we tend to thank God when like good things happen, but we don't give him the blame when bad things happen, even when they happen to us or others. It's kind of a one-sided relationship, if you know what I mean. And so, like,
well,
I get it.
Like Christians
I live in America. I'm really
direction.
thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some Christians believe that, well, he's not actually doing evil things. It's good when God does it. It's only bad when you do it.
Right. If it's something bad happens, it's definitely not God that did it. If somebody gets murdered or somebody gets raped, it's definitely not God that had anything to do with that. It's man and their sin, and they're they've moved away from God. They've rejected God in their life, and it's sort of like
so. But you're not a Christian, so I guess my point is, if you feel the need to thank God when you have good things going on, but you don't feel the need to confront God when bad things happen, then it sounds like you don't actually believe in this God.
I struggle. That's all I'm going to say. It's definitely does. There's zero. I have zero facts to base it on, and zero logic to follow it up with. And like I said, it's. I think you nailed it for us when you said it's like familiarity. And like I said, very enlightening conversation. I'm clearly not going to be baptized and saved tomorrow, so I think we're good.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think anything.
Yep. No. I hope you think about all this and call us back and let us know, what else you think if you have any other questions.
Appreciate it. Thanks again, guys.
Take care, Lola.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. By the way, one fun part of growing up pagan is learning how to write in Nordic rune language and taking all your notes and everything in that way in your fucking book, because that's the arbitrary thing that you decided was the language you needed to learn as a fucking East European child who was learning old magic, and that apparently fucking just runes was the way to go, because that was the first method of scrying you were taught, was drawing a rune from a bag, and that tells you your fucking future. And so you start writing that way, and to this day I still know how to read the fucking Elder Futhark runes and shit. And this is how you write fuck butter in those, if you're curious. Fun fact about the show Adventure Time, which I'm a huge fan of, everybody should know. Adventure Time is great. Very often in the show, there will be shit written in runes, and those are all actually, if you translate them to English, they all mean things. And so, like, there's what, like a coffin with runes written on it, and it says like "I'm a skeleton" on it. And they have, I remember one where Jake has a big cup that he's drinking soup out of, and it says "the cup of soup" in rune, and like that's just a cool thing in that show, a little Easter egg. They actually did it all in fucking Elder Futhark runes. With that, I think that's that was our last call for the night.
I think so.
Justin, my dude,
not a single theist.
What did you?
This is
a
double.
I mean, we got
two episodes back to back. No theists call us.
We got some theist callers. We got Andrew who was talking about how oppressed he is as a Christian in America, and something about trans people. I don't really. Oh, pronouns. I'll respect your pronouns when you respect Christianity. Was that one? And then we had the guy who talked for what felt like 5 hours about the Trinity and also not the Trinity. You remember that? That was also a theist call.
He was unclear. Yeah, I felt very agnostic vibes from him. I wasn't sure.
No idea. I would not be at all surprised. I would not be in any way surprised if that dude said he wasn't actually a theist in the first place, because there wasn't half of the shit he said wasn't fucking consistent anyway.
He talked a lot about what he used to believe. He didn't really describe what he does believe.
It was so weird. And I asked at the beginning, I was like, can you just skip the analogy and just tell us what you believe? He's like, no, the analogy is really important. Then we spent fucking 30 minutes on like, well, the number 1 and the letter I is kind of similar, right? Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And he was confusing the two counting systems in Phoenician anyways, which was driving me crazy. They had two methods of counting. One was like Roman numerals, where they actually did use a hash mark. And one is they just use the letters for the numbers, like what they do in Hebrew. And he got them confused, got them mixed up. He thought the hash mark was the actual letter for one, and it's not. I don't know. He read something in an email forward at some point, and he thought it was interesting, I guess.
Yeah. It was so weird. It was so fucking weird. The people in chat talking about my upbringing, that G word is a slur, by the way. And yes, I do have some traveler heritage, but we're not entirely sure from where. My family history kind of hitters off, and it's weird. And you talk about my witch bringing up coven, leave you with the blessing that I learned as a child. You draw a little pentagram in the air, and I remember the words. It was Ata Malkuth Edothura Edosura Lelo Lalomen. I don't know what the fuck that means, and I never have in my whole life, but that's what it said in the book, and that's what I memorized. And I probably got it wrong, because it's probably been like 2 decades since I said that shit, but that was my little prayer all the time when I was a kid. Isn't that great? With that, I think that's the end of it. Hey, by the way, Bookworm in the chat, you fucking cowardly bitch, you've had hours to call in. We could have set you straight, but here you are now at the very end of the show, posting some stupid shit. Fuck you. Thank you so much to all of our callers, even the ones that suck. Thank you so much to our mods in chat for keeping the chat civil. Thank you much to the people in chat, even the ones that suck. Thank you for Justin for being an amazing host. Thank you to Luxander for being a producer. Thank you to Stephanie for call screening. Thank you to you for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day and never stop learning. Bye.